Namaste. Welcome to another edition of Now We Must podcast. So today we have a panel discussion where we're going to discuss a video from Upward by Mr. Ashish Thar, and also we're going to discuss the video he has talked about game theory, history, and democracy. And as the title suggests, correct, a Hindu civilizational question. In more than one scenario, one case, we are maybe in a very distinct juncture of political history of India, where since 2014 we have seen a Hindutva surge, the so-called Hindutva surge. People have many opinions on this, whether it's a Hindutva surge or not. Many people also talk about 2014 as the real date of Indian independence, where the Hindus were unshackled from the bondage of communism, bondage of Brown Sahib. So, in that context, it's a very important point in time, point in juncture. It's 2025, 25th January 2026 that we are here. And I think a lot of people already know about the UGC fiasco just happened. There's a lot of talk about in the social media primarily, and also it has jumped also to mainstream media. Politicians, academics, businessmen, activists are talking about the UGC fiasco. But okay, no problem. So our panel is just fixing their sound equipment. Till then, let me give a context. So, what is this Hindu civilizational question? Game theory, Hindutva, and democracy. These are like they don't look like related questions, correct? What is civilization, and what it has to do with game theory? What it has to do with Hindutva, and what is about democracy? They are all not very related words, and they have their different meanings. But how they are related? So we are going to discover this. So we are going to play the video. Let me show you the video. Share the screen. And we also have one more guest joining us very soon. So it's going to have an interesting discussion. And we also have a presentation for the audience itself. So do stay tuned. Do like, subscribe, and share our content, and support us if you can by becoming a member or helping us. The QR code is there, so you can donate to us, because on your donations, on your help, we run this channel. So this is the video: Game Theory, Hindutva, how democracy has trapped Hindu society in a political Nash equilibrium. So people who are not familiar with the Nash equilibrium, a Nash equilibrium is part of game theory. So, but we are going to talk about in general terms. We also have our a panel who has some knowledge about it. So we're going to talk about it. And let me get the presentation ready. It's not. And we're going to decode this with real life examples. Okay. I might agree, the panel might disagree. That's absolutely fine. That's how things work. But it's important to have our opinion and share it with people who then again can agree or disagree on the chat or coming to a live podcast and talking about it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to first play the video few seconds, and then we're going to start the podcast. Do let me know if the voice is clear or not. So in that case, I'll adjust it, but let's play it.
That is obvious and baffling at the same time. Why? Let's talk about something that is obvious and baffling at the same time. Why is Indian politics so obsessed with caste? And why is it getting worse? You see it everywhere, in college admissions, in government jobs, in election rallies, in panel debates where politicians call caste a great evil and then in the very next sentence demand more caste-based quotas and a caste census. The same people who call caste oppressive weaponize it in every parliament session like clockwork. A recent UGC notification for institutionalizing procedures to deal with discrimination in Indian universities is just one more symptom of this deeper sickness. It rules out any possible wrongdoing against people of the so called general category, leaving them disadvantaged and vulnerable, while pronouncing them guilty for just existing. Politicians talk about New India, Viksit Bharat, Vishwaguru, and then go back to the colonial script of destroying the social fabric of this country. In this video, the plan is simple.
Okay, Shastri, you want to have the first go, and or would you want me to go through the presentation first, and then we will?
Go through the presentation first, then we will talk.
Yeah,
I
that
still-
will make a little bit more clarity. Okay, no issues. So this is the presentation.
Actually,
you
you
can
know
al-
what? Let me go
Yeah.
through the video first.
No,
Couple of
whatever you want, way you want. Like
I
this will be
think we'll
the
start with
like,
the video, then we'll go through the presentation. I think it
okay.
makes-
So whenever you want me to stop the reaction and start the presentation, just let me. So I'll do that.
that's good.
Okay, then let me just put it. I need to remove this.
First, we strip away the romantic language around democracy and look at how democracy actually works, the way it is on the inside, not what they claim in school textbooks. Second, we use elementary ideas of game theory and behavioral economics to show why Indian politics, as it functions today, is structurally anti India, especially for Hindu society. Third, look ahead. If this equilibrium is not challenged, what happens to Hindutva? What happens to BJP? And what happens to the Hindu majority that thought it had finally found a voice? And fourth, we ask the hard question. How do we get out of this trap? What strategic moves are even available? If that sounds interesting, stay with me till the end, because this isn't about whom you should vote for. This is about whether Hindu civilization can survive the madness of democracy.
Yeah, Shastri, go ahead.
I think this is a problem of there are two things, right? So one is at a moment of zeitgeist, upward is basically giving you theory, right? The second problem is this is over intellectualizing the problem. And the third problem is that it's a bad application of game theory, right? So let us understand game theory, right? What does game theory say? Between two rational actors, there's a set number of actions you can take, and you can force a set number of reactions from the other actor, right? But the important thing is two rational actors here. The world is not rational. The world is never rational. So I think this itself, I mean, game theory is a tool, right? And if you try to overuse that tool on real life, it will always present you with failures. And that's what's happening over here. They are assuming our political situation is rational, perfectly rational, right? But these are my initial thoughts, at least.
Okay, so let me actually like push back on your arguments, because I have to be like here a kind of a person who is neutral. So let me push back. So when you say political, like let's say a common voter, correct? A common voter is a part of the political spectrum of democracy. So in a democracy, people are voting on like people are voting as rational actors, or people are voting as irrational actors. See, if I'll give an example. If in Uttar Pradesh you have a caste based electorate, where people vote for their own caste. Correct. So now, if a person who is let's say caste X, and he is voting for his own caste, who has stood up for a party to be as a candidate, and if the person is voting for his caste member as the party as the person who is going to his vote for, is that an irrational choice or a rational choice?
It's neither. It's just a choice, right? I mean, in the sense that
Hmm.
um, voters are neither rational nor irrational, right? We can never figure out what the
Then,
state of the mind of a voter is at the time of voting. That's one thing. The second thing is
okay.
like a voter can choose something rational to vote on, or they can choose something emotional to vote on, right? So, batenge to katenge. It's not a rational call, right? It's an emotional call to, if I were to be honest, right? A more rational way to get people to vote for you would have been, Vikas. You build highways, roads, schools, improve electricity distribution, but those don't get votes, right? I mean, there's a certain section that votes for you. That's probably like,
Hmm.
say, 10% of the total electorate, but that does not get you across the finish line. So, what I'm trying to say is like politics is neither rational nor irrational, right? It is basically a complex, chaotic system, and on that, you're applying a framework that assumes every actor is rational. That's a bad application of game theory.
Okay, so we will delve into the game theory a little bit, but to be honest with the Mr. Ashish sir, who has made this video, he has said we are just putting the elemental part of game theory. Like, he's using the basic concept of game theory. He's not using the whole game theory to do this. Correct.
See,
He
I
has
think
mentioned.
my problem is with the approach, right? Had
Hmm,
he posted this in 2014 when, sorry, not 2014, 2024,
hmm,
when the government was actually doing this, started this Ambedkarism and made a
hmm,
reference to it today, it would have had way more impact, right? But
hmm,
you are exploiting a situation like, say, UGC, and
hmm,
you're intellectualizing over it and posting something about game theory. I think this it comes less of like offering a solution or a pathway, and more of like intellectual trolling and seething. Right?
hmm,
This is what I mean, right? It's what will you do with game theory in this case? तू कुछ नहीं कर सकता है, right? And let me give
hmm,
you a good example as well, right? Where game theory fails. Now, if I
hmm,
were to look at now, game theory is primarily is heavily used in international relations, right? And in
hmm,
international relations, the basic fundamental assumption is that nation states are rational actors, right? Now, if I were to look at India's international relations at the beginning of 2025 and India's international relations at the end of 2025, uh, it's completely different. It breaks apart game theory, right? At the beginning of the year in 2025, game theory would basically suggest that, Trump has no choice but to be nice to India, to align with India. There are all kinds of strategic reasons behind it, really good strategic reasons, right? But by the end of the year, the relationship has completely collapsed, right? Game theory would tell you at the beginning of the year that the Europeans will never approach India, right? But at the end of the year, the Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president, is basically saying we are coming to India to sign the mother of all deals, right? So this is what I mean, right? Like you are looking at a particular situation, you're theorizing what the situation looks like. Yeah, actually, you're going back in time, and you're also doing some amount of selection bias as well, right? And you're theorizing a particular situation rather than assessing and applying. They're not even applying game theory here, right? How do you take things forward, right? There's a sort of like groundswell of opposition to what's happening to UGC regulation. ये भाई साहब आता है theory textbook लेके बोलता है कि ये game theory है. I mean, how is that helpful, right? This is what this is a problem of over intellectualizing a particular situation. When you should be acting, you give a bhashan about bhasha. I mean, in you know what, to put it in very, very simple trad terms, go listen to Bhaja Govindam. Right? Simply go listen to Bhaja Govindam. See, Bhaja Govindam is a basically it's a kavya, right? It's a poetry written by Shankaracharya. He's basically making the distinction between um, knowledge, wisdom, and bhakti, right? He's basically saying, he approaches a grammarian, a Sanskrit grammarian, right? And he basically debates him and then says, "Oh, mutal, oh, mudamate, you idiot. Everything is not about rules and grammar, right? There is something called as wisdom, which comes from applied knowledge, right? And if you want to basically attain through true jnana or bhakti, you have to apply that knowledge." That is one of the interpretations of Bhaja Govinda. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, fine. So let's continue hearing this. It's very interesting. So audience, do share your comments as well. What you think?
Part 1: How democracy really works, not how we are told it works. We are taught to treat democracy like a religion. Regular elections, peaceful transfers of power, rule of law, people's will, the usual phrases. Question any of this, and you're instantly labeled anti democratic, authoritarian, fascist. Pick your favorite slur.
Is that correct, Shastri? That we treat democracy as a kind of another religion which is sacred, and all the rituals cannot be violated, even one. So is that something which is you agree?
No, it's not, right? Like, I mean, uh we people don't treat anything sacred in India. I mean, if a
No, no.
Supreme Court, if a
The see,
judgment,
we are not talking about like common people, in a sense that okay, if one election is delayed for whatever reason, or if the election is cancelled, correct. So the opinion makers make it a kind of a correct religious sacred ritual which has been violated. So here he is not talking about me and you, correct. For me, I will be go to a job, or I will earn money, correct. For me, whether vote is happening or not is it's a very distant thing, correct. Until I am earning my livelihood, he is talking about, Mr. Dhar is talking about the public opinion makers who correct make the opinions, correct? So they will be a hue and cry that why this election is cancelled. You are trampling democracy in that context.
I mean, how has that impacted common people?
No, 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 no.
I
He is
mean,
not
in the
about
sense, like,
that's what
see,
I'm. Hmm,
for about a decade,
hmm.
opinion makers have been calling the government, the incumbent government, fascist. Has that impacted any electoral results? Has that even impacted public perception? No, it has not, right? See, um, let uh, take Maharashtra as an example. There has been no municipal up until recently. There was no municipal elections for about a decade. कुछ फर्क पड़ा? No. See, you have to understand what the common man thinks, right? Or what, how to extract what the common man thinks, right? People don't vote for the sake of saving a particular democracy or anything like that. People vote for the sake of governance. A- an election is an exercise. It's essentially a performance audit, right? Your representative has performed well or not performed well, right? There are some localized issues. Okay, यूपी में एक दो सीट रहेगा जहां पर बाहुबलीगिरी चल रहा है, right? And जहां पर एक हीरो रहता है जो will intimidate people, but that's not true for the rest of India. At the end of the day, people do vote for some amount of performance. See, हर एक का performance calculation अलग अलग हो सकता है, but that's what people vote on. There's nothing, religious about it. The only thing religious about it is that people want to, the aspect that people want their voices heard.
Cool. Let's continue.
But let's remove the halo and look at the mechanics, the way political economist Hans Hermann Hoppe does in his book, Democracy, the God That Failed. Hoppe makes a brutally simple observation. In a democracy, rulers do not own the system they control. They are like temporary caretakers hired for a short contract. They cannot sell the state, they cannot bequeath it to their children, they cannot capitalize on its long term value. So, their natural incentive is to maximize what they can extract now, in their term, and push the costs onto the future. He contrasts this with an old style hereditary monarch who, whatever his flaws, has a vested interest in preserving the value of his realm over generations. The monarch owns the capital value of the government. The democratic politician only controls the current cash flow. Hoppe puts it bluntly. Under democracy, the incentive to be an original owner or producer is reduced, and the incentive to be a non-owner and non-producer is raised. In other words, those who borrow from the future thrive, those who work for the future are penalized. The result is that.
Do you agree with this statement?
Not really. I think this is a problem of over intellectualization itself, right? And also, the author, when he looks at democracies, he specifically only looks at European democracies. So he himself has like a selection bias, right? Now, I think I can pick a bunch of counterfactuals, right? Both within European democracies and also within Asian democracies as well. Japan is a good example, right? Japanese politics is way more hereditary than we think it is. The current defense minister of Japan, Koizumi, he's actually a fourth generation politician. उसका एक परिवार 4 पीढ़ी से वो politician नेता बन के आया है. The previous most stable, even the previous 3 prime ministers of Japan, Ishiba, Kishi, and Abe, they're all 4-5 generations of families over there, right? So, this notion that you have to maximize your turn is not necessarily true. There are some cultural aspects to politics that's basically like ignored over. It's and local dynamics that's ignored over, right? You can have both a corrupt system but also a system that provides outcomes. So it's not as simple as theoreticians put it, right? There's lots more dynamic. There's a lot more dynamics than what game theory posits or even any political scientist says so.
Okay, let's move forward.
That in a democracy, and this is crucial for understanding Indian politics, the gap between promises and delivery is not an accident. It is the system. It is baked in. In a democracy, candidates seek votes by offering promises. Once elected, many discover that they lack the authority, capacity, clarity, political freedom or institutional support to actually fulfill them. This creates a paradox. Admitting their inability to deliver would undermine the legitimacy of democratic governance itself and could provoke public panic or disorder, not to mention
This
the
is not
opposition
true.
taking your place.
Okay.
Imagine
Okay, tell me why it is not true.
This is not true. I think like people have a very good sense of what the capacity of the government of India is, right? Like they're not. Oftentimes, what will happen is, let's say the government wants to pursue a strategic project. People will strongly question, does the government have the capacity to pursue those strategic projects even today, right? The other thing you need to understand is also it's that um, the perception gap, it's not a static thing. It's not a static thing, right? If you go back 10 years ago, the ask of people would have been quite different than what it is today. Today, nobody is asking for toilets. Nobody is asking for uh, building new roads. Nobody is asking for electricity connections, right? Their aspirations have changed. What they are asking for is, भाई टॉयलेट बना दिया, मुझे पानी चाहिए, रास्ता बना दिया, उसको अच्छी तरह से मेंटेन करो, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लेकर आया, 24 घंटे मुझे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी दे दो. People's, as you solve issues, right, as you deliver on governance stuff, people move on to other problems that exist in their life, right? There's a whole Maslow's hierarchy that a particular political party has to basically address, and people are in various levels of that hierarchy, right? So हर एक का एक aspiration अलग अलग रहता है. To balance all of these things out in a large country like India, that is what is the challenge here. It is not intellectual, it is not ideological. It's way more basic than what it seems to be.
Okay, let me give you a counterfactual. Right. Congress was doing the Nara of Garibi Hatao, correct? And how many years Congress was doing the same Nara? Garibi was never removed, and people still were voting for Congress. That people thought, okay, someday they might remove our poverty. So how do you think how that works? And Congress would do theatrics to actually placate their vote bank, their voters. They would be like performative part of it. Okay, some small things here and there, but their core Nara of Garibi Hatao was never done, and people were still voting for them for 3 decades. For what reason?
Lack of alternatives, right? So when you are the only alternative there, who who else would you vote for? And the other thing is also, see, um, even at the end of the Congress regime, they performed badly. That's one thing, right? But they still like sort of eliminated 40% of India's poverty. We started with um, we started at about 10% at independence,
Mm.
right? Only
Mm.
10% of India was out of poverty. We ended up with 40%. That means that they did do some work, but they were terrible at it, right? And uh, it's not like people only voted for Garibi Hatao as well. There were other events that took place as well. So, for example, in the 60s, the Congress did not uh, in the interregnum between Nehru and Indira. Basically, it was Lal Bahadur Shastri, right? The Congress put in an enormous amount of effort to ensure India did not fall into famine despite having droughts. The voters do respond to these things. So I think like the simplistic notion. I mean, we have a very simplistic notion of the past, and that colors the way we basically how colors the way how these intellectual frameworks are applied. I think like we need to be a little bit more careful when we do these things.
Okay, let me ask you one more question. So, when you are talking about the simplistic notion of the past, so like a decision taken, let's say 40 years ago, correct? So, should we analyze that decision on the merits of it with current conditions, or that time how it was?
It has to be a mix of both, right? Like you can't just simply uh, uh, like dismiss a bad decision by saying that oh, we have to contextualize in the past. Right? You have to learn the the second, third, fourth order impacts of particular decisions. Right? If you don't learn from them, then you'll keep making the same mistakes. So it's very important for you to basically understand the context of how those decisions were made. First thing first, right? And also understand the impact of those decisions now. Because here's the problem, right? Like if you don't understand the context of the past and you try to basically reverse a particular decision, the backlash and the backfall would be way more severe than what it was at that point. What was the situation at that point in time? So it's important to learn about the past so that you understand how to deal with the problems that you currently face.
And also like take decisions currently with the knowledge that you gain from your analyzing the previous decisions.
Yes, but that shouldn't hold you in place, right? Like you shouldn't you see you there would always be something called as a fog of war. Actually, this applies even more strongly with game theory, right? Not fog of war, information fog, basically. Your experience of the past will always be incomplete. You have never lived in that era, right? You're reading books about it. You're probably reading some economic statistics about it, maybe some biographies. You're reading some archives, listening to some audios, but you're not living in that era. You're not experiencing that past, right? So you will always have a gap in what your information looks like. Your analysis should not be one. It should basically be like your analysis should sort of account for it, but you should not uh uh like make it hold it back, hold you, or rather you should not wait for that perfect analysis saying that mere paas data nahi hai, right? So it's more art rather than science.
Yes, okay, so let's continue, then we'll continue our discussion as well.
Imagine the Chief Minister of Delhi openly telling citizens that they must accept hazardous pollution and the risk of severe lung disease because the government is powerless to act. Such candor is politically impossible. As a result, politicians tend to resort to distraction or symbolic gestures instead of substantive solutions. Why? Because every democratic government faces the same perverse choice. Should I focus on short term populism that gives me visible gains before the next election? Or should I invest in long term structural reforms whose benefits will show up after I am out of power, if they show up at all? Hobbes' answer
Again,
is merciless.
Yeah.
Dhar makes the same mistake, right? He's basically saying it's a binary choice between long-term structural change and short-term politics. That's not how any prime minister or any chief minister of India has acted. They've always had a mix of both, right?
Let me be very frank on this. What was the choice? What was the thinking behind Mr. Nehru mandating? I don't. I maybe get the person wrong. Mandating population control for one community and leaving the other community to produce. as much as possible. What was the logic behind that from that politics perspective, politics?
I see. I think that would have been a ideological position for him, but
No, no.
see,
What kind of
it was still a
political
see.
what kind of
See,
political
exactly.
compulsions was he making? What kind of logical decisions he was making at that time?
I
What
don't
was
know.
going
This
in
is
his
what.
mind that
See, I don't know. I mean, I have to read through the archives, right? This is what I mean by information gaps. But again, like if I look at just the base, the the situation at that point in time, uh,
hmm,
an average Indian was having uh, a family of six,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
So basically, two plus six kids. You're
hmm,
producing about our average fertility rate was about 5.5%. Sorry,
hmm,
5.5 per woman, right?
hmm,
He made the strategic choice of basically saying that, you know what, this is unsustainable. We need to bring it down to something much more sustainable.
hmm, hmm.
Right? He did
But why?
his he
But
did
why
his
only
he
for a yeah? But why only for us? Only for a one community, not for others.
I don't know. I mean, this is also short termism, right? You could interpret it as his short term popularism because his entire basis was basically like some Hindus and all Muslim votes,
Hmm,
right? I think this theme will come back later when we do the presentation as
hmm,
well.
hmm,
But
hmm,
that
yeah.
was his see, every politician in India has a certain kind of
I'll
political
I'll
formulation, right?
I will just interject here. So when you are so Mr. Thar is talking about correct that a politician, the way the democracy functions, correct, it is incentivizing short termism against long term strategic policy, because long term strategic policy. Example: when Mr. Vajpayee came into power, he launched correct the Golden Quadrilateral project to connect four metro cities: Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai, Delhi via highways. And that highway and that time as well, the date might be here and there. At same time itself, they had actually initiated a project called DFC, Dedicated Freight Corridor, which would create dedicated rail lines which would connect Chennai, Mumbai, Kolkata and Delhi. So there were rail tracks where only the cargo trains, Malgadi, which is called cargo trains will run, and so that the other tracks will be reserved for passengers. So the passengers will not have any issue, and for the commerce, for the industry, for the economy, you will have a dedicated track which will take goods from one place to another via the DFC. That project they knew would take, for roads it might take 5 to 10 years. For DFC it took 35 years to be completed, or maybe not 35, maybe 20 plus years. DFC is still going on in terms of phase by phase projects. So Vajpayee did this strategic choice they made, and in a they failed drastically, and they lost the elections. So the short termism that is he is talking about, correct, that's actually reality. That if you're a political party and if you invest your political capital in long term projects which will going to give fruits to the later generations, that political party is certain to lose.
We are still eating the fruit of both the nuclear deal and
Mhm.
also the 1997 Pokhran nuclear tests.
Mhm.
Both were strategic.
nuclear
Both were
deal was done Nuclear deal was done by UPA era, correct?
yeah, right. Manmohan Singh basically gave away all political capital to ensure the deal happened. You need to realize one thing is that at the
But
time when Manmohan Singh,
what was okay? What was in for Manmohan Singh to do that deal?
there was nothing.
Anyway, we see.
There was nothing, right? Like, let me explain.
Hmm,
Um, Anti-Americanism was still quite the mainstream mood in India. It wasn't
hmm,
it wasn't like what it was, say, last year prior to Trump, right?
hmm,
Indian society had a sort of American tilt prior to Trump. That wasn't the case when Manmohan Singh was in power, right? Bush invaded Iraq. That was
Manmohan
highly
Singh,
unpopular.
Manmohan Singh power quotations quote Manmohan Singh power. We know who was in power.
Either which way, he expended political capital for that. Right after the nuclear deal, he became absolutely lame duck. उसको कुछ करने नहीं दिया उसके बाद. Right, he staked his entire political capital on that deal. We have to acknowledge that bit. वो at least वो एक, we can disagree with his party and how the party treated him and everybody else, but the guy was at least decent in the sense that देश के लिए मैं एक चीज करके मैं दिखाऊंगा करके, वो एक चीज करके वो दिखाया, वो न्यूक्लियर डील था. वो एटलीस्ट हमें थोड़ा डिसेंसी से हमें
So
एक्नॉलेज करना चाहिए.
okay,
राइट.
okay, understood. So if I am going to say that Manmohan Singh government was about to pass the I think the correct communal rights bill, correct, where the Hindus would be the always be the will be the person who would be accused of doing the violence in a riot case, and Muslims will always be victims. So we are going to forgive him for all his five bad things and take one thing and say, okay, he was a good person. Is that the
No,
argument,
this is what,
or
no, this is what I mean by making binaries out of where the binaries should not exist. You have to castigate him for everything else, but also acknowledge the fact that he got the nuclear deal right. Right? So, and again, this comes back to my original point. Every politician in India, right? Every mass leader, anybody who's reached a position of power in India, whether it's a chief minister or a prime minister, they've always had a mix of populism and a bit of strategic policy. Right? You can, let me give you the worst example. DMK. Right? Let me give you the worst example out of this. DMK. Even DMK understands that they need to build infrastructure in Chennai. Even for projects, they know that they might not see they might not see its completion by the end of their term. Right? Even DMK understands the importance of enabling SIPCOT and TIDCO to do their job. Right? I mean, what SIPCOT and TIDCO have, their stuff is like, they plan in 10-year horizons, right? 10-15-year horizons. आज infrastructure में बना रहा हूँ so that, factories 5-10 years down the line can basically avail it. Right? You're from
no,
building an industrial park. From building
But
an
they are
hold
actually
on, hold on.
projecting it, correct? They are projecting it.
No,
Okay, I am building this infra. Your sons and your daughters and your generation will get jobs. So they are getting some
yeah,
political capital out of it.
no, that's still strategic thinking, right? They're not thinking in terms of the next election. See, there's a certain cost to it as well. I mean, think about it. So for any money that I allocate to SIPCOT is less money that I can give away for welfare. अभी तमिलनाडु में elections चालू हो गया, right? ADMK is already out there saying that, क्या बोलते हैं, ओ मैं तुझे टीवी दे दूंगा करके. Where's that money coming from? Right? I mean, it's like every politician in India, irrespective of which party they are in, they have a mix of populists. They have to satisfy their base supporters, and they also have to have some strategic. Also have to um, uh, get some strategic outcomes. That has always been the case.
Got it. So okay, so we'll take the last point and then we'll move forward. So he gave an analogy that in politics, that I am here for five years, so I would be focusing on the performative part of it, so that I can show people what I have done and get elected for the next elections to form the next government. The incentive to do long term thing is less. So overall, you are always going to be behind your promises.
Come again?
I'm saying that in a democratic framework, a politician is there for 5 years, so he would always be underperforming what he has promised, because that's the how framework actually works. Because it is not possible to deliver what he is going to promise.
You're assuming that people's needs are static. As you solve issues, the needs change. What people want changes. What they aspire also changes. Right? Like
No,
they
no,
will see
no.
a
What I mean to
politician
say,
will always have to. A
what I mean to say
politician
that
will
he will promise, let's say, 5 things. He will deliver 2 things. How the framework actually works.
no.
The
Here's
primary
what I'm
argument
trying to.
is,
So what I'm trying to say is, let's say politician promises 5 things. He
hmm,
delivers on 2 things. Those
hmm,
2 things will be replaced by another 2 other things. You see where I'm coming
okay,
from, right? Like if he delivers on, if someone like Modi, he comes to power, he says, I'll deliver 5 things. He does delivers all those 5 things. Uske बावजूद भी those 5 things will be replaced by new other 5 things.
yeah, that's fine.
That is the
That's how.
that is the nature of politics. That is the nature of people's wants and needs. That is the nature of people's aspiration. It's never static. It always changes. As the environment changes, their needs and aspiration also changes.
Okay, let's continue. It's becoming interesting.
Democratic politicians, he says, show a much higher degree of time preference. They are more short sighted because they know they might be out at the next election. So they naturally choose policies that buy immediate popularity over those that build distant prosperity. And that's exactly what you see in practice. And that's why India is not China. And that's why India, unlike China, cannot think in centuries or even decades. Big, tough reforms that would actually change incentives in the economy, in education, in judiciary, in bureaucracy, those get postponed, diluted, or buried in committees. Meanwhile, loan waivers get announced overnight, quotas get expanded with one cabinet decision, new scheme with catchy acronyms are launched every few months. Statues, memorials, awards, and days are declared at zero political cost. A leader comes to power on the promise of transforming India. Once inside, he or she discovers a harsh reality. The distance between what you can say and what you can actually do is often unbridgeable. So, what do? You quietly move from cause to symptom. You give up on deep surgery and switch to cosmetic surgery. You take the lowest hanging symbolic fruits, statues, slogans, temple visits, flashy schemes, and you flood the system with them. At any rate, your staple diet in a democracy is identity politics. You amplify friend enemy narratives because they hijack your voters' emotions. It's not that there are no real friends and enemies in the world. Yes, there are. But instead of securing your people, you find it more convenient to keep your core supporters emotionally charged so that they forgive the gap between promise and reality. Hoppe summarizes this drift in one chilling line. Democratic politics becomes a process of unlimited redistribution of existing property rather than the creation of new wealth. It's not just material wealth he's talking about, but even intellectual capital. Liberal democracy leaves a nation intellectually impoverished. Once you see that, a lot of Indian politics starts to make sense. And this is not a BJP problem or a Congress problem. This is the beauty of democracy.
Pause it right
Every
here.
party that stays
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
power long enough eventually slides into this mode.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He is again over intellectualizing the entire thing, right? Like, if again this is again a bad application of game theory, right? This is my fundamental argument, is that none of what he's saying is not wrong, but it's just a really bad application of a theory that he poorly understands. Right now, if we were stuck in this so-called cycle of welfareism or something that he claims we are, then since liberalization, we would have ended up becoming like Argentina every 5 years.
Hmm.
Have we ended up in that situation? No, right? See, and the other thing is, welfareism in India has become a, if I were to apply Dhar's this analysis, then I would probably say in India we've been welfareism has become a खानदानी issue, right? 4 पीढ़ी से हमारे घर पे welfareism चल रहा है, but that's not the case, right? We would have still been stuck with the socialist system had we applied Dhar's game theory onto extended Dhar's game theory since independence. But liberalization हुआ, क्यों हुआ, कैसे हुआ? I mean, that's the thing, right? There was a certain equilibrium in politics up until 1990s, but that equilibrium got turned on its head. We are not socialist anymore. Our country, our
Are we?
government is not socialist.
Are we okay? Just to be on my, I take create. I'll take my like opinion. Like I give my opinion. The Indian society is not socialist, but the governance, administration, and the nature of state is socialist. That's my opinion. You can disagree.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, see, we haven't gone through the entire process of desocializing, right? Like the thing is, like, when liberalization happened, we only got rid of a portion of the socialist hangover. We said we'll get rid of license Raj, labor छोड़ दिया, electricity छोड़ दिया, infrastructure छोड़ दिया, agriculture छोड़ दिया. Yeah, obviously we'll have the socialist hangover when you're not as comprehensive as you should be. So, but Indian society was never socialist. It was never socialist. If you look at any kind of economic data, it would be very clear that we as a society, we resisted socialism in our own way. Government बोल रहा है कि तू, हाँ, I mean सच्ची में, right? So government had production quotas. We constantly broke those production quotas. We said बाबू आएगा बोलेगा तू कोटा, ये लाइसेंस तेरा ये है, प्रोडक्शन तेरा लाइसेंस से ज्यादा है, अभी मैं तुझे पनिश करूंगा करके. What did the Indian businessman do? He said, forget it, मैं तुझे पैसा दे देता हूँ, तू चुपचाप बैठ ले अभी, मैं अपना धंधा करते रहूंगा उसके बावजूद. I mean, that's how we basically resisted socialism, right? To the point that, by the time liberalization happened, 30% of our economy still survived. It was still under the control of merchants and traders and manufacturers, right? So, uh, I think this notion that, oh, this is there's a certain equilibrium in Indian politics, and we are fated to be stuck in it. I think this is very Luddite thinking. It's very regressive thinking. It's very cynical thinking. We should move away from this.
Okay, let's also we move forward.
Policy is reduced to tokenism. Providing solutions to real problems is substituted by storytelling. Instead of freeing Hindu temples from state control, you start building temple corridors to boost tourism.
Okay, let's we have like in Hindi we call dukti rag. We have hit a dukti rag. So is it the job? I'll reverse the question itself. Is it the job of the government to initiate the process of, let's say, government of India says, I am inviting people from all Hindu sects, all Hindu panths, okay, to come forward with your opinions, your frameworks. How do you want the Hindu temples to be run by their own communities? Or is it the other way around, that the Hindu communities would go to the government and say, okay, we want our temples to be freed. Now, this is our proposal. Look at it. We want this done. Whose responsibility it is from your perspective?
Both, both, both people,
Both.
right? I mean, yeah, society has to see. You cannot disconnect the state from society, and you cannot disconnect society from the state.
I
Yeah,
will just
actually,
stop you here. I'll just stop you here. Okay. Sorry for the interjection. So when you are saying that Indian society is not disconnected from the administration or the state, to tell me practically how even people who are like we also call educated people, how many people know how the government functions?
and see, that's not the point, right? Like there will
That
always
is
be a
that is
certain.
a there no no I'm talking about the large, that is my perception, I might be wrong, large section of uneducated, so-called educated people have effing no idea how the state works. That is called disconnection, in my opinion.
No, that's not what I mean by disconnection, right? So what
Okay.
I mean by disconnection is, let me rephrase that a little bit. The separation of duty between society and state is an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
The duties between of a state and the duties of a society are basically one and the same thing. They feed on each other. They
Mm-hmm.
provide feedback to each other. State engages in some changes. Society uh, maybe accepts a portion of that changes, incorporates it, and then tells the state some of the other changes are not workable. And the state, if it basically wants to retain any amount of legitimacy, would basically take those feedback to heart and come up with a solution, right? Sometimes it can be the other way around. Society can basically demand a certain kind of change from the state enacts those changes, and that might have a transverse effect on society itself. So this notion that, you know um, uh, that the state should only respond to what the society demands, or that
Mm-hmm.
the state should enact changes in society is false. It's a false illusion. It's a false dichotomy. That's where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's give a counterpoint. In India, probably every road that we walk when we leave our houses will have some potholes and in bad condition. Correct? The you have lived in India, you know. Correct. So every road would be have some kind of issues. How many people go to their corporator and ask why this road is not fixed?
Plenty, a lot do, right? I mean, let me give you the example of Mira Bhayandar, right? There's a particular section of road in Mira Bhayandar, uh, that society, um, where that road exists, they refused to vote, and that immediately got the attention of all three levels of government at the same time. Now, there's a backstory towards it. Um that a couple of years prior to the elections itself, that society reached their corporator. Corporator said this road is not your municipal corporation road, it's owned by the state agency. So they went to the MLA. The MLA said, no, 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 we need, they gave some other reason or something like that. And the society escalated to the MP, right? So these
Uh,
kinds of things always happen. It's not that, people are not aware or unaware. It's more or less that, who's willing to do the work, who's willing to make that work with the state and the entity called the state and its bureaucracy.
Yeah, but what you quoted an example, correct? Is that a common thing or an exception?
No, it's quite common. I think we have this
I-
false
If,
notion. See,
Go
I
ahead.
think we have this false. See, our society is organized in a very different way, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
we have this a certain section of society in Indian society. A certain section exists where the people who solely work with the government to fix things. We call them fixers,
Hmm.
right? अपना क्या होते हैं और agents करके when you
Hmm.
I don't know how RTO is these days, but in the past when you went to a RTO to get your driver's license, you had to go meet an agent first. The
Hmm.
agent will explain how the process works, and then he'll fix the entire thing so that usko tu paisa dega, and then he'll put all the fixes in the right places in the process so that tujhe driver's license mil jayega.
Hmm.
Right? So we have these kinds of agents in every section of society in India, and not, and the other thing is like हर एक को हर डिटेल का पता चलने की जरूरत नहीं है.
Hmm.
You will always find people in in you will always find people in society, a large section of people in society who have no understanding of how the political system works. That is always the
Hmm.
case, that there'll always be that 20-30% who will be like that.
Hmm.
But what's more important is that uh, are they able to engage with the sections with their society who can actually talk to the right people to get the fixes in?
Sorry, I lost you for a second. Just let me reconnect it. You carry on, or we should play the video.
I mean, I've made my arguments against the video
Okay,
in
let's
depth.
continue it. Let's continue.
Part 2, Anti-Incumbency and the Long Narrative Arcs of Indian Politics. This built-in short-termism creates another feature we all see but rarely analyze properly: anti-incumbency. Indian journalists imagine anti-incumbency as voter mood swings. Public is fickle, log mood badal dete hain, etc., etc. But there is a deeper logic. It's not just that people get bored, it's that democratic regimes are structurally incapable of closing the promise delivery gap. Over time, the myth collapses under its own weight. And when that happens, politics doesn't just change leaders, it changes narrative eras. Since 1947, you can think of Indian politics as moving through a sequence of big narrative arcs, each lasting
Let
roughly
me
20 to 30 years. These
just hold
narrative
on.
arcs are embedded in
Hmm.
Again, the entire problem with him is his framing, right? He thinks of this gap as being a static thing. It's not a static thing, it's a sliding window, right? Every time you fix an issue, another issue crops up. Just take the infrastructure space, for example, right? 5 years ago, every infrastructure bro on social media was basically doing JJK of every infrastructure project that Modi government was implementing on the ground, right?
Hmm.
It didn't matter what the alignment was. They were just doing simple JJK of every project that was being implemented. Today, the same guys, they've gone beyond implementation. They're basically saying, "Ha, alignment or highway banana theek hai, but there are other things also you need to fulfill." Right? They've started commenting on the fact that इन लोग ने ढंग से लेन पेंट नहीं किया है, इन लोग ने क्रैश बैरियर अच्छी तरीके से नहीं डाला है. They are commenting on how the lane math
Bridge
works. They are
bridges
commenting about
collapsing as well.
No, not even, see, not even bridges collapsing. Bridges collapsing is a failure, right? I'm talking about already implemented successful projects, right? They're commenting about, oh, मैं चलाते समय ride smooth नहीं है, right? They're not talking about the fact that हाँ, सरकार ने मस्त एक्सप्रेसवे बनाया, वो बड़ी बात है, उसके लिए मैं जय जयकार करूंगा करके. They have moved on to other things, right? Go on YouTube, watch Drone Man's videos, right? Go back in the past, watch his video about how he talks about Samruddhi Mahamarg when it opened up. When it just opened up, when the first phases opened up between Nagpur and Nashik. I watched his video about a week ago where he talks about the same section today. His entire framework has changed, right? He doesn't say, oh yeah, मैं नागपुर से मुंबई में 8 घंटे में पहुंच सकता हूं. He doesn't talk about the fact that, he can drive at 200 kilometers per hour in certain sections of the highway. वो clearly बोल रहा है कि हाँ, ये सब ठीक है, but road quality is like not up to par. Right? He says like, oh, जगह जगह पे इन लोग बैरियर बना के रखे because they have to repair the road. See, you see what I mean? Like the what people want from a government is not static. It's basically a sliding scale. As you solve problems, new problems get injected and new expectations get set in place. Now, today, people don't just simply expect a government to just build a highway, a road, or or build a or make enable job employment or whatever. They're looking for other things as well. They're looking for the quality of the build, right? So this is my basic problem with Dhar. He's like basically assuming everything is static. ऐसे नहीं है. Short termism. See, it's easy to, and this is what I mean by he's over intellectualizing things.
Okay, so let's continue.
In the all-pervading and therefore rarely noticed phenomenon of democratic propaganda. First came the Nehruvian era. Secularism, planning, scientific temper, socialism, the idea of India as a modern nation state. Whatever you think of it now, it was a powerful narrative for its time. Then, as that model ran out of steam, you see the early stirrings of caste politics. The Mandal Commission and its implementation in 1990 did not come out of nowhere. It was a response to an entrenched Congress system that had stopped delivering material gains to large sections of the population, but kept feeding them empty slogans. Mandal reservations exploded onto the scene. For a brief period, the axis of Indian politics tilted decisively towards caste-based mobilization. Regional parties like Samajwadi Party, RJD, Bahujan Samaj Party, and others rose on the promise of correcting upper caste domination through state power. But very quickly, another narrative began to take shape, one that sliced the electorate differently. In the early 1990s, you see the surge of Hindutva politics. Ayodhya, Ram Janmabhoomi, the idea of building a Hindu vote that cuts across caste lines and unites the majority on religious lines. This wasn't just another issue. It was a direct challenge to both Nehruvian secularism and Mandal-style caste fragmentation. So the political axis shifted again. After some coalition chaos and a corruption-heavy UPA era, the BJP came to power in 2014 with a blended narrative. Development plus decisive Hindu assertion. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas on the one hand, and a clear signal that the Hindu majority would no longer be permanently shamed or sidelined. And for a while...
Okay, so just one thing. So this BJP slogan of Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas that is something baked into the ideology of correct Ekatma Manavvad. So this is something not new which BJP has been. BJP always correct made its like core philosophy of uplifting every single human being living in India and give him a better life. That was the core philosophy correct of Janasangh when it was formed. Shastri.
E- I mean, like nobody wants to run a government where they are accused of discriminating people. I mean, that's just the reality of it, right? Uh,
Okay,
and
let
it's
me tell
also
you. Okay, let me reverse it. So you are saying nobody wants to run a government where they are perceived as discriminating. So do you think the Nehruvian policies were discriminating against Hindus?
they were, but it was also a different era, right? Nehru
No,
had
no. I am saying they were doing this, but they were not saying I am doing it. Is
no,
that
but they
the?
cared about no, they cared about their perceptions,
Hmm.
right? That
So narratives
see,
correct. So the narrative matters.
uh, I mean, sure. I mean, it's also a different era.
So
Let's let
okay,
let,
no,
let
no.
me let me
Yeah,
let me
let me
explain, right? So
no, no.
how do you
Before
communicate to
you
people?
no, no, before you
Ha-
explain to me, so when you're talking about narratives, Nehru was discriminating against the Hindus, but he was not saying it. What he was doing was that they were discriminating. Congress was discriminating against Hindus, but the narrative was that I am doing things for everybody, and by the power of narrative, they fooled Hindus for 30 years. Is that a power of narrative?
And actually, I would say that he didn't. He cared about his perceptions. He simply did not say
Hmm.
what he was doing in many
Hmm.
cases,
To correct,
right?
to hide it, he had to create a narrative. Narrative was ke garibi hatao. But in the garb of the
Uh,
garibi hatao, he was doing discrimination against Hindus.
uh, it was a multitude of things. It wasn't just Garibi Hatao, right? So see, in some cases, he basically hid what his intentions was from the public. It was easy in that era, right? It was extremely easy in that era. In other cases, he used the system, the media, to basically drive the point about secularism.
No, no.
While that narrative was
And
Okay, was he malintention? Like Nehru did this as intention to harm the Hindus in general, or it was like bad policies itself? It was like intentionally he was doing something. Can we after he is dead for 40-50 years, what do you think? Was Nehru Congress was intentionally harming Hindu interests because he wanted to do them, and he was camouflaging them via narratives? What do you think, your opinion?
I think if Nehru was alive today, he would probably say, I had no malintent, to be honest, right?
But do you
Uh,
think, do you think, in your opinion, say action speaks larger than words, correct? Louder than words. Actions. His actions were mal. His actions harmed Hindus, correct, for almost 3 decades. Okay, and then he would say, "I was so innocent that I did not know this would have a like correct population control bill." Correct. Was Nehru that dumb to figure it out that if Hindus were having two babies and then one and a half babies, and other communities were having 3 or 4 babies, correct? By 50, 60 years, it would shift the demographic. Was he that innocent, or was he that incompetent to understand his policies would have a long term impact on the Indian demographics?
I would come about it from a different perspective, right? So the thing is like, what I'm trying to say is that, you should really analyze what led him to think in a certain way,
Mhm.
right? Like what led him to think in a certain way, and then assess whether the goods and the bads of that line of thinking, right? This is why I don't want to attribute any kind of malice to him, but rather
Hmm.
put fault at his way of thinking.
Hmm.
So if Nehru were, just to be honest, coming back to what I said, if Nehru were alive
Hmm.
today, he would say,
Hmm.
I wasn't being malicious.
Hmm.
I was trying to modernize in Hindu society.
Hmm.
The problem is his modernist thinking or his modernist framework, which he
Hmm.
sort of monopolized, right? He basically
Hmm.
said, I will dictate how modern Hindu society would look like.
Hmm. And
That
he did not
drove
realize,
to
and he did not realize that, there won't be a Hindu left after 100 years because of his policies.
maybe he didn't care enough, right? Like that's the thing, right? So his entire modernizing, you see, if you read his works, his
Hmm.
entire we would all be in agreement in saying that he sounds more like a colonizer than he does a Hindu. Or to
Yeah,
quote
he was a Brown
Manu
Sahib,
Joseph,
correct.
no, no,
Hmm.
no. To quote Manu Joseph, he's basically an amateur Indian, right?
Hmm.
So Manu Joseph recently um, wrote a rather very striking and I would say like a surgical strike on this entire Nehruvian thought
Hmm.
by simply saying that they are amateur Indians. They are Indians by skin,
Hmm.
uh, but they're not in and Indians by their taste of food, but by
Hmm.
everything else they're not Indian.
Hmm.
So Nehru was that kind of a person, right? So he his entire his entire schooling was in basically like sheltered. वो उस जमाने में
Hmm.
मोतीलाल के टाइम पे he went to a boarding school, one of the best in British India.
Hmm.
Then after that, his father made arrangements, and then he went to Cambridge to do his legal degree, where he bumped into a bunch of socialists. I mean, his entire formative years was in Cambridge among a bunch of socialists,
Hmm.
Fabian socialists, actually.
Hmm.
So uh, he,
So
he
Fabian socialists did not want to reform the so-called Abrahamic people, but Fabian socialists wanted to reform the Hindu people.
I see the entire. I'll put it this way:
Hmm.
Fabian socialists, and Fabian socialism comes from the idea um, that before you get to um, and before you get to an equal society, you need to have a form of enlightenment,
Hmm.
right? So that means you have to basically disconnect religion from public life and political life completely.
Yes, yes, but only for one community. That again, I want to understand the logic behind that. Why would
Right,
you
right.
make
So,
a
so
Hindu code bill and leave the other side in the dark ages? For what reason?
yeah. So here's the thing, right? So, uh, the the notion that Nehru held was that Hindu society itself had to go through an enlightenment process. So he had to
First,
basically
first,
disconnect.
first. Hmm.
Yeah, had to go through an enlightenment process first before he
Hmm.
can basically modernize. So his entire basis of basically um, sort of like upending Hindu society, as you might like to characterize it, comes from that
Hmm.
basic thought. Is that
Hmm.
oh, Hindu society has not had its enlightenment moment yet.
But why not the same thing for other panths? What was
That's
the
his.
why he had to exclude others? Like he was not empathic enough for other people. Like correct triple talaq example. Triple talaq is a very bad thing. What Nehru thought, okay, okay, let Muslim women suffer triple talaq. I will deal with them later. Let's first fix Hindu society. Is that
I think that's
Fabian socialism looks like?
no, but I also think that's a failure of the broader Congress, right? I mean, to be honest, like everybody in the Congress was like, "Why are you leaving Muslim society behind?" They were unable to put pressure on Nehru to basically say, nay, we should include Muslim society as well. There was enormous pressure. वो किया नहीं, वो अभी उसके लिए अलग सा एक PhD रिसर्च ही करना बाकी है actually, to be honest. Like you need another J side Deepak just to inspect Nehru and his choices.
Cool. We have also have Anand joined us. Anand, would you like to share your thoughts or
So sorry, I was so late. I had stuff at home.
no? No problem. You need to pay me fine. Fine दे तो मिट
No,
जाएगा.
what have we covered till now? Let's look at that
Ah,
first.
we correct the video we are covering. So we are just trying to like fetch talking points and like understand where it's coming from, and we are trying to like make our points as well.
See,
Okay,
I
do one
see
thing.
very
We will
different.
watch it. We will watch it, and then you can share your opinion.
Perfect.
Worked spectacularly well. Part 3. Hindutva has harvested its low-hanging fruits. Fast forward to now. Most of the big symbolic promises of Hindutva have been fulfilled or neutralized. Ram Mandir, done. Article 370, effectively removed. Pakistan terror narrative, overused. The image of a decisive strongman taking on the old Latyan's order, established, then routinized. In other words, the low-hanging fruits, the kind of symbolic moves that a democracy is good at, have been harvested. What remains on the Hindutva wish list are not easy gestures, but deep structural questions. Will the constitution ever be amended in a serious way to remove anti-Hindu asymmetries and special treatments? Will Hindu temples be freed from state control across states? Will there be heavy long-term investment in Sanskrit, in Indian knowledge systems, traditional sciences, and genuine intellectual decolonization? Will Kashmiri Pandits be resettled in Kashmir in a meaningful, irreversible way? Will there be reforms that actually reduce the power of the political class and bureaucracy over society? These are not photo op reforms. These are take on the permanent state, take on the courts, take on entrenched interests, risk your own power reforms. And here, democracy's fundamental weakness bites again. For a party that has been in power effectively for 3 consecutive terms, the politically rational question is, what's my next narrative arc? What keeps me in power for another 10 to 20 years without forcing me into the dangerous zone of sincere long-term work? The safe answer is not take on the constitution head-on, free temples, break the bureaucracy's control over society. Those fights are costly, uncertain, and may even backfire. So the system looks for a new story.
Yeah, go ahead.
See, this is where I feel like Dhar is engaging in intellectual trolling. Right? I mean, this is just simple, to borrow a Twitter term, blackpilling. Just moments ago, maybe 5 minutes in the video, he was castigating democracy by saying you're forced to engage in short-term populism for against at the expense of long-term strategy. And then he quotes saying that 3 of Hindutva's basic goals have been, they're not low-hanging fruits, by the way. Just to be honest, 3 of Hindutva's basic goals have been fulfilled. And one of them, he says, is Ram Mandir. What you don't understand is Ram Mandir has been going on for 400 years. It picked up traction in the 1980s. Right? Uska conclusion was because of immense political pressure and also a sort of like preparedness to get things done in a reasonable amount of time. You know, Ram Mandir could have taken another 15 years. क्या जाता है? अभी हम जा रहे हैं राम मंदिर में जाके भव्य राम ये अपना वो भव्य राम मूर्ति के सामने हम प्रतिष्ठान कर रहे हैं, प्रदक्षिणा कर रहे हैं, पूजा कर रहे हैं, उसके सामने अभी द इंडियन स्टेट itself is basically the prime minister himself is going there, taking pictures, posting them on social media. He's made it a central part of his government's imagery.
Okay, hold on. Is it performative democracy, performative Hinduism, or is it a deep rooted reform that Hindus asking for, or
Let
is
me
that?
ask you, what do you think it is? Is building a temple in Ayodhya performative? You tell
No,
me.
going there as a PM to do
No,
puja,
I
is that performative?
see, wo PM hai, he's taking time out of his busy schedule to do that puja. Is that
Hmm.
performative? Like he has 10,000 things he has to do. He's the prime minister of a country. He's a prime minister of 1.4 billion people. Put that in context. Right? He's a prime
Maybe,
minister.
may,
He's a prime
may,
minister with the armed forces with nuclear weapons. He
hmm,
is taking time from his busy schedule to go to Ayodhya to perform a puja and then get back to work.
let
It can
me
be
ask
both.
Is that
you.
performative or
Okay,
not
It
performative?
can be both.
okay, okay.
It
Hold
can
on.
be both.
Let me ask a very provocative question. Then Anand and Shastri can actually share their opinion. Shastri said 1.4 billion people. Shastri genuinely believes that this 1.4 billion people, all of them think PM is the Modi is the PM.
It doesn't matter. He occupies a post. He's
No,
still a
I understand.
representative of 1.4 billion people. Whether all those 1.4 billion people consider him as PM or not is irrelevant. He
Mhm,
occupies a post of a
mhm,
state
mhm,
which has 1.4 billion citizens and constituencies.
mhm,
And the guy, see, it could have been easy for Prime Minister Modi to basically say, "Nay, nay, मैं busy हूँ. I have to go meet Vladimir Putin. I have to go meet Ursula von der Leyen. I have to go meet world leaders here and there. Nay, nay, Pakistan is planning a terror thing. I have to pay attention to that." वो सब नहीं हो रहा है. He's specifically taking time out of his busy schedule to make this happen. तुम लोग डिस्टेंस से बोल सकते हैं, हाँ, ये पूरा दिन वो बैठ के वो संध्या वंदन नहीं किया है, सिर्फ वो 10 मिनट के लिए वो पूजा के लिए आके गया है. अरे भाई, ही इज अ प्राइम मिनिस्टर. वो एक राजा है. राजा, इवन इन एंशियंट टाइम्स, a raja would not ever perform the पूजा. उसका पुरोहित करता था. राजा वो क्लाइमैक्स पे आके वो एक क्लाइमैटिक वो एक मंत्र पढ़ता है, उसके लिए आके बैठ के 15 मिनट वो पूजा करके वो निकल जाता है वो अपने दूसरा कार्य करने के लिए. It's never performative. This has always been the structure of pujas.
I
got
think we're
it.
getting a little distracted. I would like to look
Yeah.
at the more fundamental thing that Dhar is asking. Okay. First
Hmm,
thing.
hmm,
So it can be both. So it can be substantive and performative at the same time, and both sides can see the performative in it and they say substantive in it. But I do disagree with Shastri on this, is that he doesn't need to do it. He has to do it because it gets him political points, and it is required for his campaign. Let's be clear, he's getting something out of it. Modi is getting something out of it. He's getting political dividends from it. If he didn't was not getting out of it, he would not be doing it. That we have to be honest about the realism of a politician. Second thing, I don't think it is trivial that Dhar is asking. Have these three things have been achieved? What else of substance is left? And the big thing of most substance that the Hindutva community has not achieved is unity of jatis. I am sorry, but they have not achieved it. They've not even gone 5% into that direction. They've not done the work, the hard work that's required of bringing the hate and the disagreement and the and the burning dislike at the ground level out of the population and bringing them into a how to say agreement that we are working together for a common goal. That has not been done. The perform and that this is the performative part. Playing this card, that card, this community card, this jati card. I understand in politics is required, but if your moral goal is to bring unity of jatis, you have not even started on that path yet.
I
So
I just want to say one thing.
no, let me
Sorry.
finish.
Okay, let
You have to be
Anand
honest.
finish. Okay, let Anand finish, and then Hasti can respond.
You have to be honest with the fact that you have not done the hard work of uniting the jatis together to say we may have our individual identity, but it doesn't mean we have to hate and dislike each other, and we don't have to be at odds with each other. We have to work together in our different ways to bring unity for purpose for the Hindu community, and that's not been done. I'm sorry, that's just not been done. The armed services has done a better job at uniting the jatis than the government of India, in my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah,
But
Shastri and then
again,
Bida will respond. Okay, okay, Shastri, go
yeah,
ahead.
but I think Dhar is also the wrong person to come about and say that, we have not done anything to unite jatis. The guy has, from his strat positions, always insisted on a separation between jatis rather than unity of jatis. So I think it's a
No, but
little too.
no,
Hold on,
that is
hold on.
fine. Then
I think it's a
why is
little.
Dhar no, but why is Dhar the outsider? But what this Mondal, the Mondal that they have what's his name for his name again? Keep forgetting his name. That doctor
Dilip Mandal. Dilip Mandal.
Dilip. Why is Dilip
No,
Mondal being brought into the BJP's inner center? That's my point. If
so
you're talking about
no,
people who are divisive, then no divisive people should be in your inner center. Keep only the people who unify us. That's my point.
no. What I'm trying to say is Dhar is just pointing fingers. He's not presenting any solution here. The
Of course
second
he is. Of
second
course, pointing
criticism
fingers.
of my
Of
second
course.
criticism of Dhar is just this horrible application of game theory. He's over intellectualizing uh, in a situation where you should not be over intellectualizing. You should be at least coming up with some form of solution, a pathway forward. वो नहीं कर रहा है वो. Right, this is where my basic criticism comes from. And then on top of it, hold on, one more thing, right? Just I think you just came in a little bit late, but if you go back, say 5 minutes into this video, he says whatever BJP has done so far is short-term populism, and he simply dismisses that, okay, Ram Mandir is short-term populism, some other thing is short-term populism, tackling Latvians is short-term populism. Are har cheez short-term populism hai to then what is strategic, what is long-term thinking then? Right? I mean, somewhere you have to basically uh, objectively assess whether you're being fair on the subject or not. He's not doing that. That's my basic argument here.
But he doesn't have to be fair. No, he's not part of the ecosystem. See, the problem is we're
No,
expecting
he is
the
part. See,
criticism.
he is part
He's
of the
not.
broader ecosystem. He
You've
has
already
a
said he's
certain
not part of the
responsibility
ecosystem. You're
of
saying
being fair.
he's the reason the problems are occurring. You're saying he's not part of the ecosystem. You're saying he's part of the
No, he
problem.
is.
Right?
He's being problematic within as being a participant of the ecosystem. Right. See, let me contrast this Dhar with Harshal Mehta.
Okay.
Right. Look at the difference in how each of them approaches the same problem. Harshal Mehta is not he's not a Raita guy. He's actually pakka trad. Look at the way he approaches UGC versus how Dhar is approaching UGC. Dhar over here is overtly is engaging in excessive intellectualism. Harshal Mehta, on the other hand, is going out there saying, "Hey, here's the regulation. Hey, do you know anyone? Hey, do you know people? Do you know anyone on the inside who can say who drafted this? Hey, do you know anyone who can get me in touch with Dharmendra Pradhan? Hey, you group, put pressure on Modi ji. Hey, you group, hey, we as a people, we should get Pradhan fired." Like, this is what it means to act rather than intellectualize over a current zeitgeist.
But everyone doesn't have the ability to act. Some people have the ability to intellectual, some people have the ability to act. I mean, everyone
Everybody
can't be
has the
good at the
choice.
same time.
No, everybody has the choice to act, right? And I'm saying Dhar is making the bad choices here. He
Yeah,
could have stayed silent.
that's a valid
No, no,
criticism.
no.
But
Hold on. He could have stayed silent, or he could have changed the topic, right? One way he could have changed the topic was basically saying that here is the history of Dharmendra Pradhan. Here is his abject failures. We need to get rid of him. What does he do instead? What does he do
Okay.
instead? He comes up
Okay.
with
let me
Okay.
game
understand.
theory and then
You're
says,
saying,
oh no. He comes up with game theory and then says, this is our fate. This is stupidity.
I mean, you can't
Yeah.
stop someone being a pessimist. Come on, that's he's a
No, no,
pessimist.
no.
No, no.
But
He
no.
actually
But I can call
end of the
someone
video.
stupid.
He's no, no. At the end
I
of the
can call
video,
someone
he
being
is
stupid.
no, no. That's fine. That's fine. So what I'm saying is that at the end of the video, he is not as pessimist as Sastri makes look at it. But we'll see the video, full video
No, but
itself.
you have to acknowledge that his point is that the hard work to do the action. What is Hindutva's goal? Hindutva's goal is not to build the Ram Mandir. Hindutva's goal is to
नहीं नहीं, यहाँ
unite
पे
the
आई हैव टू
country.
इंटरजेक्ट, ये नैश नैश पे बात चल रहा था,
Nash
so I have a
equilibrium.
few points here. हाँ, I
Huh,
think
we'll go to
Ashish
the
Dhar,
details, but there's one
no
point let me
detail
make.
नहीं, the essence that so Shastri ji was saying, so okay, so first of all, namaste everyone,
Namaste.
and yeah, thank you. So basically, yeah, I think technically, matlab, okay, I think this Ashish Dhar, he's not going to too much technicality, but I think even if he's not being technical, he's what he's saying about game theory is essentially right. And there is no wrong in the statement of his about the statement of the problem itself or about the outcome that he's presenting here. Because first of all, matlab, it is again, it is not a, so there are two kind of Nash equilibrium. One is static Nash equilibrium, another is dynamic Nash equilibrium. And clearly voting, election, public policy, these sort of things, right? At least when you have like non-cooperative players like Congress and BJP, it comes under, and obviously it comes under dynamic Nash equilibrium, because obviously there are like a multi-period multi-iteration sort of game that is going on here. So technically, he's right. I don't think he's saying anything wrong here, Shastri. Now, for the multi-period dynamic Nash equilibrium, he's actually predicting that okay, it will be a for Hindus it will be a lose-lose scenario जहाँ पे कांग्रेस और बीजेपी दोनों ही ये कार्ड खेलने लगे हैं, कास्ट कार्ड खेलते खेलते बेसिकली पूरा जो मतलब हिंदू सोसाइटी है वहाँ बेसिकली कास्टिस्ट डिवीजन आ जाएगा, एंड इट विल बी sort of lose lose for Congress as well as for BJP and for the Hindus as well. सो यहाँ पे मुझे नहीं लगता कि उसने कोई जो आउटकम एटलीस्ट गेम थ्योरी से प्रेडिक्ट किया है वो गलत है। दूसरे और एक टेक्निकलिटी ये था कि सो शास्त्री वाज सेइंग कि ओके ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर नॉट रैशनल एजेंट्स, सो हाउ कैन यू प्रेडिक्ट कि ये जो मतलब व्हाट एवर द चार्ट दैट आशीष धर इज शोइंग डज नॉट मेक सेंस, राइट? Now, the point is here, in that case, you know, obviously different people think in different way. But again, to cover Nash equilibrium for such a big population, what you do in finance or in politics as well, when you do electoral calculus, these kind of things, you assume stochastic games. So in stochastic games, obviously, you can assume a stochastic model for the game that each individual is going to play on behalf of this big organization, either BJP or Congress, right? So yeah, you don't need to assume कि भाई everyone will be rational under Congress or BJP in order for the game to make sense. So overall, I think the okay. So this guy did not go into that much deep, but the final chart that he has shown, it is the equilibrium that you will get when you have the statement as per Ashish Dhar, at least. Matlab, as per his thesis, that will be the outcome. Because again, a rational person in that case will be a trivial stochastic scenario, जहाँ पे ये जो उन्होंने जो दिखाया कि अंत में जो सिनेरियो दिखाया, द पेसिमिस्टिक सिनेरियो, एटलीस्ट एज पर द स्टेटमेंट ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम, वो वहां तक ही पहुंचेगा. सो आई डोंट थिंक देयर इज एनी प्रॉब्लम इन टेक्निकलिटी. अगर इंटेलेक्चुअल लाइज कर दिया इस प्रॉब्लम को, देयर शुड नॉट बी अ प्रॉब्लम, बिकॉज आई मीन that is what Prashant Kishore is doing and earning a lot of money and winning a lot of, I don't know, other political parties. I mean, BJP ने खुद ने ये सब यूज किया है. I don't know how much Prashant Kishore has used Nash equilibrium or stochastic games, but statement में तो कोई प्रॉब्लम है नहीं, ना ही कोई ओवर इंटेलेक्चुअलाइज किया गया है. दिस इज, आई थिंक, सही किया गया है. दूसरा पॉइंट ये है कि हाँ, इस पे पूछ रहे थे कि ये फिर किया क्या जा सकता है, मतलब बीजेपी जो चालू कर रहा है, ये जो यूजीसी कास्टिज्म, इससे कर क्या सकते हैं, हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं. हम लोग, मतलब मेन मुद्दा वही है ना कि इफ वी थिंक अबाउट द डम्बेस्ट क्वेश्चन हियर, दैट इज कि तो क्या कांग्रेस को वोट दे क्या, तो राहुल गांधी को पीएम बना दे क्या. और वहीं पे वो उसका जवाब मिल जाता है. जवाब ये है कि अभी हम लोग अगर वही बोलते हैं ना कि हम लोग क्या अभी तो स्ट्रैटेजी चेंज कर रहे हैं, हमारा तो गेम अभी तो खत्म नहीं हुआ है, जो आरफा कानून वाला है, जो भी था वो कोटेशन. हमें मोदी को हटाना है. मोदी हटाओ, बीजेपी बचाओ. अगर बीजेपी को खुद को बचाना होगा तो मोदी को हटाना पड़ेगा. दिस गाय इज अ कास्टिस्ट गाय. आई मीन, एज पर हिज स्टेटमेंट, हिज एक्शन, इज अ कास्टिस्ट गाय. वो बोला है कि जो जनरल कैटेगरी स्टूडेंट है उनके साथ हिसाब चुकता किया जाएगा. एक पीएमओ के ऐसा स्टेटमेंट अगर मान लो कोई दूसरा दे देता तो उसका तो अभी तक गला काट दिया जाता. कौन सा हिसाब चुकता करने का बात कर रहा है ये बंदा, किसके साथ, इसकी. और बोल रहे जिसके माँ के साथ ये हुआ हो, जिसका ये माँ माँ बोल के रोता रहता है ये बंदा, जबकि इसको, इसने जो अपनी माँ का जो जो अंतिम यात्रा है उसका फोटो ऑप बनाया इस बंदे ने. फॉरगेट अबाउट राम मंदिर. यस, राम मंदिर पे वो जाता है, दिस इज परफॉर्मेटिव एक्शन. और क्या हो क्या सकता है, राम मंदिर जाके तो कोई ऐसा पॉलिसी लेके तो नहीं आता है वहां से कि राम जी की तरफ से कोई ये पॉलिसी आ गया है, नहीं बोलता है ना वो. सो दिस इज अ परफॉर्मेटिव एक्शन. इससे उसको फायदा होता है, वो अभी तक वो उसको दोहन कर रहा है राम मंदिर जाना. और ये बंदा निहायती, मतलब इसको बहुत हम लोग झेल चुके हैं. ये बहुत दिनों से ये सब कांड किए जा रहा है, लेकिन अब इसे झेला नहीं जाएगा. मोदी हटाओ, बीजेपी बचाओ. और वी हैव टू पुट दिस स्लोगन एवरीवेयर, बिकॉज ये बंदा जो है, दिस गाय इज अ वेरी मच सेल्फ पॉम्पिंग, एक ऐसा बंदा है जिसको किसी से फर्क नहीं पड़ता. इसको जो करना है वो करेगा, और उसमें बीजेपी का ठप्पा आएगा. बीजेपी एक बड़ा इंस्टीट्यूशन है, और इंडिया भी एक बड़ा कंट्री है, एक बड़ा नेशन है. वो मोदी के बिना चल जाएगा. ये जो हो रहा है इंडिया का, वो बोला जाता है मोदी आया इसलिए तो हमें बोलने का मौका मिला. नहीं, इंटरनेट आया इसलिए बोलने का मौका मिला. इंटरनेट के लिए बोलने का मौका मिला. मोदी कुछ एक्स्ट्रा नहीं किया है कि मैंने जो फर्स्ट अमेंडमेंट आया था उसको मैंने सुधार लिया या वापस ले लिया. फर्स्ट अमेंडमेंट वही के वही है. फिर भी हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं. हम लोग बात इसीलिए कर पा रहे हैं क्योंकि फर्स्ट अमेंडमेंट बोलता है कि इसकी वजह से अगर दंगा हो जाए तो शायद तुम्हें पकड़ा जाए. हमारी बातों से दंगा नहीं फैलता, तो हम लोग बात कर पा रहे हैं. अगर दंगा जिस दिन फैलेगा, यहाँ से कुछ मान लो कुछ बात चला गया, दंगा हो गया, उस दिन हमें पकड़ पकड़ लिया जाएगा. तो फर्स्ट अमेंडमेंट तो वही के वही है. तो ये बोलना कि मोदी ने बोलने का मौका कर दिया है, नहीं, इंटरनेट का एक्सपेंशन हुआ है, इसलिए हम लोग बात कर पा रहे हैं. लेकिन ये जो मोदी जो बार बार एक ही गड्ढे में बार बार इसको हम लोग माफ कर रहे हैं, ये सोच के, अरे ये तो देश के लिए सोचता है, ये तो कुछ मोहन भागवत, कहाँ कहाँ से तो महाभारत से ये बंदा जो हंस और डिम्ब का जो एक मिथक, मिथक तो नहीं बोलूंगा, जो कहानी है वहां से इसने गेइज्म ढूंढ के लाया है कि हंस और डिम्ब डिम्ब दो भाई थे और वो गे थे. जबकि वो बिल्कुल ही एक, मतलब सिंबॉलिकल स्टोरी है. ठीक है. इस तरह से अभी वही वही बंदा जो अपना आरएसएस का, उसी ने बोला कि भाई 2000 3000 साल से ये अत्याचार कर रहे हैं जो अपर कास्ट वाले लोअर कास्ट वालों पे. एक रिकॉर्ड दिखा दो मुझे जहां पे अपर कास्ट लोअर कास्ट पे एक रिकॉर्ड की ये लिखा गया है कि अपर कास्ट ने लोअर कास्ट के पे अत्याचार किया है. हमें उल्टा रिकॉर्ड मिलता है. हमें मेगास्थनीज का इंडिका जो है, ऑब्वियसली इंडिया का था, इंडिका का सेकेंडरी रिकॉर्ड मिलता है, बट इंडिका से जो वर्जन उठ के आता है उसमें ये लिखा गया है कि इंडिया में स्लेवरी नहीं है, इंडिया में सारे लोग फ्री है. ठीक है, इंडिया में स्लेवरी नहीं है। दूसरा, हमें 1850s में अंग्रेजों से मिलता है, मैं कोट कर दूंगा बाद में, यहाँ पे लिखा गया है कि अरे वहां पे ये फीवडम या फिर ये सब फ्यूडलिज्म ये सब चलता नहीं है, वहां पे कोई स्लेव नहीं है कि खेतों में काम करने के लिए वहां पे स्लेवरी अपनाना पड़ता है। सब लोग जो खेतों में काम करते हैं उनका अलग इज्जत है, एंड दे आर enjoying it in that society, इंडियन सोसाइटी, ऐसा रिकॉर्ड मिलता है हमें। तो ये जो मोहन भागवत हो गया या नरेंद्र मोदी हिसाब चुकता अभियान, या फिर 3,000 साल से ये चल रहा है, 3,000 साल से अगर गांव में कास्टिस्ट वॉर चलता तो एक भी गांव इंडिया में बचता क्या? इजंट इट ए कॉमन सेंस? ये कॉमन सेंस नहीं है? गांव में जाके देख लो कौन सा किसके साथ लड़ रहा है जात पात के नाम पे, कहां चल रहा है? हर एक गांव मर जाता ना फिर। कौन सा हिंदू रेजिस्टेंस की बात आती फिर? नहीं आ पाता ना। हाँ, ये मानना कि कुछ कुछ जो जातियां हैं उनका इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन खराब है क्या? हाँ है, बहुत खराब है उनका। वही तो अंत्योदय ये सब जो वर्ड यूज करते हैं, सबको आगे बढ़ाना होगा। बट ये अज्यूम करना कि भाई इनका इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन इसीलिए खराब है क्योंकि इनको एक्टिवली रिप्रेस करके रखा गया और इन पे अत्याचार किया गया, सबसे बड़ी बात इस तरह से प्रेजेंट किया जा रहा है जैसे ब्लैक लोगों के ऊपर यूएस में रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन और उनपे मारपीट स्लेवरी उनपे किया जाता था, वैसे स्लेवरी इंडिया में एग्जिस्ट करता था। ये जो बेसिक एजम्पशन ये बार बार बोल के फिर हिसाब चुकता, उसके माँ के साथ जो हुआ है वो हिसाब चुकता नहीं करेगा क्या? करेगा। मैं भी तो वही बोल रहा हूँ। ये बोलना कि जो जनरल कैटेगरी वाले वो अलग रेस है और जो ये दूसरे लोग हैं ये अलग रेस है, और एक ऑपरेस्ड रेस है एक ऑपरेसर रेस है, ये जो कम्युनिज्म लाना, हर चीजों में घुसाना, ऑपरेसर ऑपरेस वाला जो नैरेटिव है, ये अभी बढ़ गया है। ये मोदी ने अलग अलग पॉलिसी के थ्रू बढ़ाया है। ये मोहन भागवत ने बोल बोल के चीजों को इतना हद तक लाया है। अभी तो पॉलिसी इंप्लीमेंट हो रहा है इस पे। अगर ये जो कॉलेज कैंपस में जो चलता रहता है, लोग एक दूसरे को दारू पी रहे गाली दे रहे, अब कोई दारू पी रहे हैं वहां पे, कोई ये अगर गेस्टा बेसिकली ये लोग एक गेस्टापो फौज बनाएंगे। हु विल चेक द इंटेंट ऑफ द जीसी कैटेगरी पीपल? इंटेंट, कि इसका इंटेंट क्या था। मैं अगर गाली दे दिया कोई दूसरा कोई चीज, वो इंटेंट देखेगा कि क्या है, उसके हिसाब से 15 दिन के अंदर ये सब एफआईआर वगैरह लॉन्च करना होगा। तो ये अगर कास्ट वार नहीं बढ़ावा देना है तो और क्या कास्ट वार को बढ़ावा देना है? This is basically 1984 being implemented in Indian academic campus in India, कि थॉटफुल पुलिस रखा जाएगा। थॉट पुलिस तुम्हारे दिमाग के अंदर जाके देखेगा। बिग ब्रदर जो बैठा रहेगा नरेंद्र मोदी, वो देखेगा तुम्हारे अंदर क्या चल रहा है, कितना कास्टिस्ट हो तुम। इसमें कोई इंटेलेक्चुअलाइजेशन नहीं है, ये एक ब्रूट फैक्ट बता रहा है। और आशीष धर मेन मुद्दा पकड़ा ही नहीं। मेन मुद्दा यही है कि मैं कॉलेज कैंपस में अभी मेरा 10 साल 15 साल का जो रीयूनियन हो रहा है, मैं कैंपस के अंदर जाऊं, फिर कोई बंदा कुछ बोल दे, अरे ये इतना आगे बढ़ गया क्योंकि ये कास्ट में ऊपर आता है। डज इट मेक सेंस? मेरा मेरा जो पर्सनल स्ट्रगल है, मैं गांव का बंदा हूं, मैं बहुत कुछ झेल के यहां तक पहुंचा हूं लाइफ में। तो मेरे साथ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं हुआ अलग अलग जगह? उसके उसके खिलाफ कानून कहाँ है? कौन बोलेगा ये सब? जो अंग्रेजी में बात करते हैं और जो अंग्रेजी में बात नहीं कर पाते हैं, ये दोनों जो रेस है उनके बीच डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं होता है? ये सब बात कौन करेगा? ये जो इतने सारे फ्लाइट चलता है, वहां पे काफी सारे बुजुर्ग लोग हैं जो अंग्रेजी में बात नहीं कर पाते हैं, उनको पानी मांगने में दिक्कत होता है, तो उसका मतलब जो प्लेन का जो पायलट है वो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन कर रहा है। मतलब दिस इज गेटिंग आउट ऑफ प्रोपोर्शन। चीजों को तो एक जगह पे लाना होगा, एक जगह पे बांध के रखना होगा कि भाई ओके, ऐसा कुछ हुआ, मतलब जो हुआ था प्रूफ दे दो कि यहाँ पे। अच्छा, इसका सबसे अर्लीस्ट जो रिकॉर्ड मुझे मिलता है ये सब किया। ये बेसिकली ये फूले, ज्योतिबा फूले, इनका जो बुक है एक, बुक का नाम भूल रहा हूं मैं, वहां से मिलता है। ठीक है, ज्योतिबा फूले का, एनीवे, सो बेसिकली फूले का बुक का नाम है स्लेवरी, गुलामी आई थिंक। ठीक है, और ये गवर्नमेंट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र ने पब्लिश किया था अंग्रेजी में 1991 में। ना फूले जब ये बुक लिख रहा था, तब वो, तब उसका वर्जन था कि जो ब्राह्मण है वो ऑप्रेस कर, उनको भट्ट कह के बुलाया है, जो भट्ट लोग है वो ऑप्रेस किया है। और ये जो क्षत्रिय या फिर अब आजकल पता नहीं ओबीसी, मुझे पता नहीं यार कास्ट कौन कहाँ का है, तो जो वैश्य लोग है और क्षत्रिय है, इन्होंने कुछ नहीं किया, ये लोग आराम से थे। ये जो भट्ट लोग थे, ब्राह्मण थे, इन्होंने डिस्क्रिमिनेशन किया है। और फिर वहां से फिर, क्योंकि विष्णु के जो 10 अवतार थे, वहां पे एकमात्र जो ब्राह्मण अवतार वो परशुराम जी थे, तो उसने परशुराम को पेल पेल के गाली दिया है। ठीक है, उस बुक में फिर बोला है कि ये सब खत्म करना पड़ेगा, ब्ला ब्ला व्हाट एवर, राइट। सो वहां पे बोल रहे हो कि तुम सिर्फ ब्राह्मणों ने किया है। फिर हो गया नहीं, ये जो क्या सवर्ण बोलते हैं, आई थिंक यूपी बिहार साइड, सवर्ण लोगों ने किया
सवर।
है। फिर बोल रहे हो कि अभी जो लॉ आया है उसमें उसमें बोला जा रहा है कि किन किन के खिलाफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हुआ है, वो जो बेसिकली फूले, ज्योतिबा फूले वाला जो नैरेटिव था कि क्षत्रिय, मतलब क्षत्रिय नहीं, मतलब ओबीसी, एससी एसटी, वुमेन, माइनॉरिटी, इनके साथ बहुत बुरा हुआ है, और ये बेसिकली जनरल कैटेगरी वालों ने किया है, जो बेसिकली माइनॉरिटी है। तो डज इट मेक सेंस? अगर कोई, जैसे यूएस में जब मैं क्लास लेता था एज ए टीए, मुझे पता है सबसे बड़ा डर क्या होता था, कि यार मैं चीज लोगों को पास करा दूं, नहीं तो ये लोग मुझे गोली मार सकते हैं, दे कैन शूट मी। लेकिन यहाँ पे एक प्रोफेसर का सिमिलर डर रहेगा कि मैं अगर बंदों भाड़ में जाए, मैं इनको पास करा देता हूँ, वो निकाल दे, मतलब जो भी है आगे बढ़े, ये मैं अगर इनको कुछ भी एक मार्क्स कम कर दिया, तो हो सकता है मेरे खिलाफ कुछ केस दर्ज कर दे, फिर तो मेरा इंटेंट चेक होगा। तो ये कास्ट वॉर बीजेपी ने और बीजेपी के अंदर मोदी ने चालू किया, ये हमें मानना होगा। क्योंकि ये जो जो बंदा रोकने के लिए आया था, अपना दुबे जी, निशिकांत दुबे, वो मोदी
निशिकांत
का
निशिकांत
घनिष्ठ है।
दुबे।
क्योंकि मोदी के हिसाब से वो बहुत बड़ा इंटेलेक्चुअल है। निशिकांत दुबे ये रोकने के लिए भेजा गया है, मतलब ये मोदी से आ रहा है ये चीजें, ये और किसी से नहीं आ रहा है। सो इट इज द स्लोगन इज सिंपल, मोदी हटाओ बीजेपी बचाओ। ठीक है, मोदी को हटाओगे फिर बीजेपी बचेगा, देश भी बचेगा, सब कुछ बचेगा। इसका एक्सपायरी आ चुका है, वैसे भी 75 साल के बाद तो इसे चला जाना चाहिए था। एल के आडवाणी को इसी यही लॉजिक दिखा के एल के आडवाणी को भगाया। खुद क्यों नहीं जा रहा है भाई ये बंदा? और मोहन भागवत, उसका भी 75 हो गया शायद, वो भी बुढ़ा ये चेयर पकड़ के बैठा हुआ है। अरे छोड़ो यार इनका, एक भी मतलब आप यूथ लीडर या कोई दूसरा लीडर, इनका नाम ही नहीं आता, सब जगह मोदी 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 का फोटो लगा हुआ है। और ये बंदा ये हमारे साथ ये सब कर रहा है, जेनोसाइड कराने पे तुला बैठा है हिसाब चुकता करने के लिए जनरल कास्ट का। इससे घटिया कानून तो कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता, इसको कोई भी बंदा सपोर्ट नहीं कर सकता। और इसको कितना भी डम डाउन करो या फिर कितना हाइपर इंटेलेक्चुअलाइज करो, दिस इज अ जेनोसाइडल एक्ट। ऊपर से इंडिया का जो जेनोसाइड प्रिवेंशन कन्वेंशन के दौरान जो कानून बनाना होता है वो भी इंडिया में नहीं है। इंडिया ने, इंडिया इज ए हिंदू जेनोसाइडल स्टेट, इट इज बॉर्न ऑन द एशेस ऑफ हिंदू जेनोसाइड इन 1947। ठीक है, इंडियन स्टेट इतना वियर्ड है। सो इन ए डेमोक्रेसी, इन जनरल पीपल चूज द स्टेट, यहाँ पे द स्टेट हैज स्टार्टेड टू चूज पीपल। और दिस ट्रांजिशन वाज पॉसिबल ओनली थ्रू हिंदू जेनोसाइड, कि इनको थोड़ा जेनोसाइड करो, उनको मारो, उनको थोड़ा अलग करो, इनका, इन दोनों जो फैक्शन है इनके बीच तनाव क्रिएट करो, उसको मारो, इसको पकड़ो, इसके पीछे थॉट पुलिस लगाओ, एकेडमिया बर्बाद करो। एकेडमिया में अगर गेस्टापो आ जाएगा तो एकेडमिया का फिर क्या रहेगा? सो मोदी भगाओ, बीजेपी बचाओ, इट्स वेरी सिंपल। इस बंदे को जहां चोट लगता है वहां पे चोट इसको देना पड़ेगा। मोदी का एक्सपायरी आ चुका है, इस बंदे को हटाओ। and that's my
Uh,
submission.
Okay, yeah, Vijitda. To actually give you a perspective, you said Mohan Bhagwat. So now we have an RSS high level functionary. He is saying something. So listen to this. What is there? Yeah.
नहीं पीने लगते हैं तो मैं कहता हूँ ये सिनेमा हॉल नहीं है, 2 घंटा मैं बोल रहा हूँ तो 2 घंटा आप ध्यान में रखें। कल जा करके आप अंदाज़ा लगाइए कि कोई एक विद्यार्थी केस करता है इसी प्रकार की चीज़ें, तो हम तो सफाई देते फिरेंगे। आप बार बार कहते हैं कि भारत की अपनी नॉलेज सिस्टम थी, भारत की अपनी एक गुरु शिष्य परंपरा थी, आपने उसे कहाँ रखा है? आपने तो उसे ताके पर डाल दिया है। और एक बहुत बड़ा सवाल मैं बार बार ये उठाते रहता हूं और उठाता भी हूं कि मैंने ये जन्म लिया है। दरअसल थोड़ा सा इधर विजय जी को भी संबोधित करना है मुझे।
प्लीज।
मैं जन्म लिया हूं, है ना, मेरा यही जन्म है, मैं नहीं जानता कि मेरा पहले जन्म है।
ये जो मेरे खबर रख लीजिए स्क्रीन पर जी।
मेरे बाप दादों ने डिस्क्रिमिनेशन किया था या नहीं किया था मैं नहीं जानता। मेरे बाप दादे उस डिस्क्रिमिनेशन में शामिल थे या नहीं शामिल थे मुझे नहीं जानते। आप मुझे इसमें इस जन्म में, एक जन्म में मुझे आप क्यों डिस्क्रिमिनेट कर रहे हैं? एक सवाल।
ठीक है सर।
दूसरी बात एक जोड़ देना चाहता हूं, सरकार इस देश में, बस 10 सेकंड खत्म हो रहा, इस देश में मुसलमानों ने, आक्रांताओं ने इतना पद दलित क्या कहता है, आप छोड़ दीजिए, पीछे का अतीत आप मत ढूंढिए, आप ये सब उस जो बीत ही गई विसार दीजिए। इस चीज को आप जिंदा रखना चाहते हैं भारत के अंदर। और मैं मानता हूं,
आप सिर्फ लंबा हो जाएगा, आप कहने की कोई जरूरत नहीं थी।
मुझे इसकी कोई आवश्यकता नहीं थी।
एक कमेंट सर,
मुझे इसकी कोई आवश्यकता नहीं दिखाई दे रही।
सरकार का जो संसदीय पैनल है, सरकार ने संसद में इस बात को कहा है कि भाई 5 साल के अंदर दलितों पर और पिछड़ों पर 118% की वृद्धि हुई यूनिवर्सिटीज के अंदर। और सरकार ने इस बात को मानकर सरकार ने यह कर दिया कि हर कॉलेज, हर यूनिवर्सिटी में आपको एक कमेटी बनानी पड़ेगी और हर 6 महीने में आपको रिपोर्ट यूजीसी को भेजना पड़ेगी कि कितना अत्याचार दलितों पर होता है, कितनी रिपोर्ट आई है, कितनी आपने दर्ज की है। तो ये तो सीधा आपने हथियार दे दिया कि आपकी जरा से भी अनबन हो, नहीं हो, कोई निजी खुंदस हो, आप सीधे आरोप लगा दीजिए कि भाई SC ST में शिकायत दर्ज कर दिए, उस लड़का का कैरियर आप चौपट कर दीजिए, उससे कॉलेज से रेस्ट्रिक्ट कर दिया जाएगा, उसे कमेटी के सामने लेके जाएगा। सवर्ण लड़के आत्महत्या करने की धमकी दे रहे कि ऐसी स्थिति होगी। हम पढ़ने आते हैं यहाँ पर, मतलब अगर कुछ भी हुआ तो सीधे उसको SC ST एक्ट में दावे, विचारधारा अलग है, उसको SC ST एक्ट लगा दो, उसको रेस्ट्रिक्ट करवा दो, कॉलेज से सस्पेंड करवा दो, उसका जीवन तबाह कर दो। मुझे लग रहा है कि
बहुत सारी खबरें हैं, या तो सरकार 10 सेकंड सबको विश्वास में लेके आपने क्यों किया है मुझे बताएं।
10 सेकंड ये बात जरूरी है जाना। देखिए, ऐसी घटनाएं नहीं होती हैं, मैं ऐसा नहीं कहता, होती हैं, लेकिन अपवाद को क्या नियम के तौर पर आप प्रोजेक्ट कर देंगे?
ठीक है सर।
अब ऐसा नहीं होता है कि मैसिव तरीके से इस प्रकार से डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो।
सर आगे खबर जो है वो
Okay, just to give a context, when Mohan Bhagwat is saying this, so there are like Sangh is not a single monolithic entity. There are people within Sangh who speak on a different tone, different language. That needs to be clarified. Yes, we have also have BJP RSS. Please speak.
नमस्कार दादा, सभी जनों को नमस्कार। देखिए, मुझे लगता है कि 2029 में भाजपा का नारा होने वाला है, सवर्ण पुरुषों भारत छोड़ो। ठीक है, तो मैं इसको मान चुका हूं और यही होने वाला है, सवर्ण पुरुष भारत छोड़ेंगे और कोई विकल्प नहीं छोड़ेगा। खैर, इस पर मैं और आगे नहीं बढ़ूंगा, पर राम मंदिर को लेकर जो चर्चा हो रही थी मैं उस पर बात करता हूँ। ठीक है, यहाँ पर बहुत बहस चली कि क्या राम मंदिर सिंबॉलिक है या ये एक सब्सटैंशियल कुछ है। मैं बोलूंगा राम मंदिर एक सब्सटैंशियल सिंबल है सिंबॉलिक, बट इट्स अ सब्सटैंशियल सिंबल, कि वो बहुत ही प्रभावशाली एक चिन्ह है हमारी सभ्यता के उदय का, पुनरुत्थान का। ठीक है, वहां तक बात ठीक है। आप देखिए 1948 या 1950 में जब सोमनाथ को दोबारा बनाया गया था, तो वो भी एक बहुत बड़ा चिन्ह था हमारी भारतीय सभ्यता के पुनरुत्थान का, और नेहरू को उससे बहुत दिक्कत थी। ठीक है, यहाँ पर मोदी जी को राम मंदिर में जाने से कोई ऐसे समस्या नहीं है, परंतु ये सब्सटैंशियल पॉलिसी नहीं है। क्यों? जब राम मंदिर हमें वापस मिला, आपने फिर क्या उसके आधार पर कोई नीति या पॉलिसी बनाई कि दूसरे जितने भी मंदिर हमारे ऐसे हैं जिनको तोड़कर उसके ऊपर कुछ और बना दिया गया, हम उसको लेने के लिए क्या एक रूपरेखा तैयार करेंगे? प्रश्न ये है, क्या वो पॉलिसी बनाने का चेष्टा हुआ? क्या प्लेसेस ऑफ वर्शिप एक्ट हटाया गया कि हिंदुओं को स्वतंत्रता दी जा सके कि वो अपने मंदिर वापस लें? जब हमारे कुछ वकील जैसे विष्णु शंकर जैन और अन्य लोग कोर्ट में जा जाकर सर्वे के ऑर्डर्स ला रहे थे, और संभल का भी सर्वे का ऑर्डर उन्होंने ही लाया था, बहुत सारे मंदिरों का, जैसे वाघ देवी मंदिर आपके धार में, यहाँ पर मध्य प्रदेश में, तो ऐसे बहुत सारे मंदिरों का सर्वे ऑर्डर निकलवाया था इन्होंने। तो धड़ाधड़ सर्वे ऑर्डर हो रहे थे, अचानक से सारे सर्वेस पर स्टे लग जाता है सुप्रीम कोर्ट द्वारा। ठीक है, अब मैंने संजय दीक्षित जी को सुना है ये कहते हुए, मैं खुद इस बात की पुष्टि नहीं कर रहा हूं, पर संजय दीक्षित ने कहा कि सरकार की मिलीभगत है, जिससे उन्होंने कोर्ट को कहा कि स्टे लगवा दीजिए इन बातों पर। तो ये तो अपने लोगों के विरुद्ध काम कर रही है ना। कई सारे नोटिसेस जैसे अश्विनी उपाध्याय जी जैसे वकीलों ने डाला है, जैसे माइनॉरिटी का जो ये है क्या बोलते हैं स्टेटस की,
Definition.
स्टेट के बेसिस पे, हाँ हाँ, सेंटर के लेवल पर माइनॉरिटी डिफाइन होना चाहिए ना स्टेट के लेवल पर। सरकार ही कुंडी मार के बैठी हुई है, जवाब नहीं दे रही है। एक बार सरकार ने उत्तर दिया था न्यायालय में, एफिडेविट फाइल किया था, ये संजय दीक्षित जी कह रहे हैं और मैं उनकी बातों को गंभीरता से लेता हूँ। उन्होंने एक एफिडेविट डाला था कि ये कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट में है, तो स्टेट और सेंटर कोई भी डिसाइड कर सकता है। तो फिर असम में हेमंता बिस्वा शर्मा ने कहा कि हम डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पर डिसाइड करेंगे कि कौन माइनॉरिटी है। जब ये उन्होंने कहा हेमंता बिस्वा शर्मा ने, आज ये बात कहाँ चली गई? कोई चर्चा नहीं हो रही है, क्योंकि जो गवर्नमेंट ने सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने एफिडेविट डाला था वो वापस ले लिया। तो ये लोग क्या करे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, क्या खेल चल रहा है, ये कौन सा हिंदुत्व चल रहा है इसका, मुझे तो समझ में नहीं आ रहा है। क्योंकि दिखावे का भाड़े का हिंदुत्व तो चल रहा है कि हम मंदिर में जाके इस माथे पर त्रिपूर्ण लगा देते हैं, सड़क बना दे रहे हैं, कॉरिडोर बना दे रहे हैं, सब बढ़िया, हमें उससे कोई आपत्ति नहीं है। पर पॉलिसी लेवल पर, इंस्टीट्यूशनल लेवल पर हिंदुत्व कहाँ है? वो मुझे नहीं दिख रहा है। मुझे तो दिख रहा है यूजीसी के एक्ट लाए जा रहे हैं जो हिंदुओं को तोड़ता है। मुझे तो ये दिख रहा है कि SC/ST अट्रॉसिटीज एक्ट को इन्होंने इतना कठोर बना दिया, उसमें पहले से ही बहुत सारी धाराएं थी, कोर्ट ने उसको हल्का किया, तो वो वापिस उसको वैसे ही कर सकते थे, पर उन्होंने उसमें 24 धाराएं और जोड़ी उल्टी सीधी। तो ये तो और हिंदुओं को मारने पर तुले हुए। ऊपर से हिंदुओं के घर परिवार तो इन्होंने तोड़ रखे हैं एक तरफा नियम बना बना के। तो ये क्या हिंदू समाज को बचा रहे, मुझे तो समझ में नहीं आ रही ये बात। ये तो हर प्रकार से हिंदू समाज को तोड़ रहे, जाति के नाम पर तोड़ रहे, लिंग के नाम पर तोड़ रहे हैं, माइनॉरिटी को स्कॉलरशिप दे रहे हैं कि वो यूपीएससी में प्रवेश पा सके। मजाक चल रहा है क्या? और हम कुछ बोले नहीं। यहाँ पर सवर्णों को मारने पर तुले हुए ये, और इनके लिए इंटेलेक्चुअल बैटिंग सवर्ण करता है। आज जब हम नैरेटिव की बात करते हैं कि राष्ट्रवाद की नैरेटिव कौन आगे लेकर आ रहा है, तो हम देखते हैं ज्यादातर जो ये बातें करे वो सवर्ण है, क्योंकि सवर्ण के पास कुछ नहीं है। उनको ना तो कोई आरक्षण मिलता है, ना तो कोई सरकारी स्कीम का विशेष लाभ मिलता है। वो केवल कुछ ही मुद्दों पर वोट करते हैं। एक है राष्ट्रवाद, दूसरा है हिंदुत्व, और तीसरा है कि डेवलपमेंट हो जाए। भाई हमें इससे कोई आपत्ति नहीं, मैं सवर्ण जाति से आता हूँ इसीलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ, हमें इससे कोई आपत्ति नहीं है कि दूसरों को, जो गरीब वर्ग के लोग हैं, उनको आप थोड़ी बहुत सुविधाएं दे दे, पर आप हमारा कॉलेज जाना हराम कर देंगे, आप हमारे माथे पर एक लक्ष्य चिन्ह लगा देंगे, एक टारगेट सेट कर देंगे कि इसको फंसा दो, मार दो, इस पर झूठा आरोप लगा के इसका जीवन बर्बाद कर दो, कितना सहन करेगा? कभी ना कभी तो उसका विद्रोह होगा ना। नहीं, सवर्ण भी बोलेगा ना, भाई अपने माथे पर हम क्यों अपना पेंट करवाए टारगेट? उससे अच्छा कांग्रेस को देखकर एक ही बार में झटका खा लेते हैं। हलाल क्यों हो हिंदुत्व का झूठा प्रचार के नाम पर? ये होगा, इसको आप रोक नहीं सकते। ये क्या क्या करके, और मोहन भागवत जी ने भी इसको लेजिटिमेसी दी है कि 3000 साल से पंडितों ने अत्याचार किया है। और ठीक है, आरएसएस इज नॉट अ मोनोलिथ, पर लोग जब आरएसएस को देखते हैं तो उसका सबसे बड़ा सिंबल कौन है? उसका प्रमुख ही है ना। मोहन भागवत जी की बात जितने लोगों तक पहुंचती है, आरएसएस के किसी कार्यकर्ता की बात उतने लोगों तक नहीं पहुंचेगी। तो मोहन भागवत जी जब कुछ बोलेंगे तो लोग यही सोचेंगे कि आरएसएस की सोच ऐसी है। तो ये तो हम इस बात से भाग नहीं सकते ना।
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
See, this is beyond just what we're discussing. This is the problem with the idea of delineating society into sovereign and non-sovereign, privileged and not privileged, discriminated and not discriminated. You cannot be a Viksit Bharat if you're going to think like this 24/7. I'm sorry, Modi ji needs to understand he cannot bring India into what 10 billion dollar country if he's going to talk make it about OBC को इसके लिए इतना आरक्षण इस जाति के लिए इतना आरक्षण ये victimize हुआ है. You cannot bring it to, you cannot create a society. I'm sorry, that's not possible. The people who
और एक बात मैं जोड़ दूं, आनंद आप इससे पहले बोले, मैं एक बात जोड़ दूं, मैं आप बोल लीजिएगा पर मैं एक बात जोड़ दूं। कांग्रेस ये सारी बातें बोलता है, पर आपने देखा है कभी कि कांग्रेस ने आरक्षण बढ़ाया? नेहरू जी ने एससी एसटी आरक्षण का भी विरोध किया था, हमको अच्छा लगे या ना लगे। कांग्रेस ने ओबीसी आरक्षण का भी विरोध किया था, मंडल कमीशन का। उन्होंने कभी अपने से आरक्षण नहीं दिया है, अपने से कभी आरक्षण नहीं दिया है। आरक्षण भाजपा देती है।
Okay, hold on. Now,
ये गलत है। कांग्रेस ने स्टेट गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे आरक्षण के,
जनता पार्टी ने बनाया था।
नहीं, कांग्रेस ने स्टेट गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे आरक्षण के साथ बहुत सारा अत्याचार किया है। ये गलत है। कांग्रेस ने आरक्षण
पर वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल फ्रेमवर्क पे किसने डाला था? कांग्रेस ने नहीं डाला था ना। आप एक भी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट ऐसा दिखाया जिसमें कांग्रेस ने डाला है जाति?
नहीं, उसका
hold on.
कांग्रेस देखिए,
everybody hold
कांग्रेस
on. Everybody hold on. I will throw you out. Hold on, everybody. First of all, our reservations are part of the constitution which was made or he headed by Mr. Ambedkar. Okay. Listen to this. As per constitution, reservations are given to ST as per the constitution which was passed in 1950s. Okay, so take that data first. Second is how the main reservation politics was started in 80s. So I don't think we need to give clean chit to any political party for promoting or doing reservations. Everybody is as guilty as everybody.
No. That's let me get this clear. I'm not giving a clean check to Congress. मैं बोलता हूँ कांग्रेस ने भी ये जाति का विषय उठा के इस पर राजनीति कर करके ही इसको भड़काया है। मैं उसको मना नहीं कर रहा हूँ, पर कांग्रेस ने ये चालाकी सदैव की है कि स्वयं कभी आरक्षण नहीं दिया। जहां तक कि आप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के आरंभ की बात कर रहे हैं ना, वहां पर भी मैंने यही कहा कि नेहरू ने विरोध किया था एससी एसटी आरक्षण का। उन्होंने यही कहा था कि यदि हम आरक्षण देकर लोगों को बैठाने लगे तो मेरिट का ह्रास होगा, योग्यता के आधार पर तय नहीं होगा कि कौन ऊपर जाएगा कौन नीचे जाएगा, उससे समस्या होगी। आज उनकी कहीं ना कहीं वो बात सही थी, क्योंकि आज -40 वालों को मेडिकल कॉलेजेस में एडमिशन मिल रहा है। आप ऐसे डॉक्टर से उपचार कराना चाहेंगे जो -40 लाकर मेडिकल कॉलेज में घुसा? क्या बना रहे हम इस देश का? ये तो हमें सोचना पड़ेगा ना।
Okay, now Anand and then M Shastri.
Yeah, see, we are missing the point. I think this is the problem with India. This pisses me off about everyone in India. You want to pick a camp and you want to fight for that camp. Enough. The camp ka baara, it's not about the camp you're taking. I'm sorry. This is a problem. It's not about Modi hatao, Desh bachao also. It's not that either. The problem is our society is so riven by the most stupid ideas. It is not about upper, lower. It is not about discriminated, not discriminated. It's not about someone who is from a privileged background, who's not privileged background. The society cannot develop if you're going to keep dividing it, you doing politics on these points. If Modi wants to create a Viksit Bharat, $10 trillion economy, he has to see people as people who work hard for their country, a nationalist and a not nationalist, a Hindu and a person who fights Hindutva, or a person who fights division of Hindus. That's all the vision should be. Not bloody, this community is disenfranchised, this community is unfranchised. That's not the point you should be making. That if you really care about Hindutva, your point should be every jati that's fighting for India is Hindutva. We won't discriminate between them. We will see how they can help us, help the country progress, can help the Hindu society progress. That should be your thought process. Not like, oh, this is a discriminating group. They will attack this group. They'll attack that group. Only politicians and scumbags think like this. Why is UGC irritating us so much? Because they're picking and choosing favorites. They're choosing who they want to target. Because in human society, always will be some group that's more powerful. Today, it may be the OBC community is more powerful. Tomorrow, they may not be as powerful anymore. Some other community may get more powerful. The point is, you put these things in your framework, in your discussion topics. You need to say, no, we will not talk about OBC, we will not talk about SC, we will not talk about ST, we will not talk about Savarna, we will not talk about bloody Kshatriya. If you're a Hindu and you work for Hindu society, you're a freaking Hindu and you're part of Hindutva. That should be the narrative. The point is, everyone is fighting from the perspective of their jati. Bahad mein jaye tere jati. Your jati is only relevant to your family and your community. Uske baad mein, why do you talk about your jati? मेरी जाति ये करती है, मेरी जाति वो करती है. Who cares? आपने हिंदुइज्म के लिए क्या किया है? आपने लड़ा है कुछ? Have you recently fought? Is your jati fought for Hinduism in some war right now? Recently? नहीं ना. So चुप रहो अपनी जाति के बारे में. I'm getting sick of these people talking about my jati did this, my jati did this. Your jati did nothing. You didn't contribute anything right now. Historically, your jati contributes something, but today you contribute nothing. So stop acting like you did that hard work. You did nothing. You take Dhar also, Mr. Dhar. What have Kashmiri Pandits done for progress of Hindu society today? Instead, they're the ones who started the Marxist bullshit in Kashmir and almost caused partition of Kashmir from India. They didn't want to join the Indian Union. And now they're saying, help us out, help us out. आपको नहीं join करना था with the rest of your fellow Hindus. Ab after you went to the Narasangar of this community, like, मुझे help करो. You also take responsibility for your behavior. Same thing in South India. So many communities were like, oh, we will vote for Congress over, and we'll strengthen the DMK. The DMK got strengthened because the Hindus in South India didn't stand up to the DMK. Didn't say, you stop this bullshit. How many Hindus stood up to Periyar, to EVR Ramaswamy, Nayakar? They didn't stand up. They let him do his nonsense. So everyone takes equal responsibility. ये pick and choose, मैं superior हूँ, मैं कम inferior हूँ, मैं ज़्यादा लड़ता हूँ, मैं कम लड़ता हूँ. What nonsense is this? This is what should be tackling. And no one is tackling this basic point. Whether it is the BJP, whether it is RSS, whether it is the Congress, whether it is even the communities, people are criticizing UGC right now. Where is the positive vision for the Hindu community? I don't hear that. All I hear is people whining 24/7. मुझे ये हो जाएगा. आप क्या करेंगे to prevent this discrimination? And where will we unite? वो solution कहाँ है? That's what irritates me the most. Political parties will take advantage of the fact that you are fighting over these sort of topics. You should be saying, no, we will not. We stand together with the rest of our community. Those who fight for Hindutva, we will stand with them. The rest of them go bhad mein jaye. You can go vote which political party you want. That should be the attitude. Thank you.
देखिए
Okay,
आनंद
wait,
शास्त्री जी को बात करते हैं.
Shastri, and I have put the tweet just as you requested. Go ahead.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? So the Sangh always says that, we need to make sacrifices for the greater good and all that. What have they done? Right? I mean, except for certain factions within the Sangh, because who are truly so appalled by this entire regulation, what have they done, right? The other thing is, I want to bring it back to Dhar. What has he achieved? वो over intellectualize कर रहा है. I mean, look at what Harshal's doing over here. He's the one who read through that regulation. He's the one who brought it into public view. He's the one who's basically driving this forward. वो लोगों से पूछ रहा है, बॉस ये किसने लिखा है? मुझे लिस्ट दे दो. I want to chase them down. See, at some point in time, you can't just simply complain. You can't just simply over-intellectualize things. You have to act. Right? The other thing I do want to state also that we are dealing with an incomplete system of incomplete information. There is the government for quite some time has been looking for a way to basically scrap UGC and AICTE. Right? Now, if this is a golden, there are lots of things you want to get rid of. This is a golden opportunity to push all of those things. तुझे वो लटियंस वाले जो बैठे यूजीसी में उनको हटाना है तो ये दिस इज द टाइम टू डू इट. लिस्ट बनाओ, उनका फायरिंग करवाओ.
Sorry, Shastri, I don't buy this 3D chess argument you keep making about BJP.
नहीं, this is not a 3D. No.
arguments.
This is not 3D chess argument. This is basic political engineering. Right? You have to get the people, you have to get the political pressure in, and you have to start making lists. It's high time you start making lists of people who are basically abusing you.
By torching Hindu society with just the divisive ideas?
No.
I'm sorry, what is this nonsense?
No, I'm
don't
sorry.
understand.
I don't think you understand this. I'm saying making lists of people. See, UGC का regulation किसी ने तो draft किया रहेगा, किसी ने तो idea डाला रहेगा, किसी ने तो argument debate किया रहेगा, must have pushed it through the bureaucracy. वो कौन कर रहा है वो?
No, but
कौन कर रहा है?
allowing the
specific
यूजीसी के बारे में मैं एक बात बता दूं कैसे आया.
Hold on. We have a very special guest with us, academic man. You have paid a lot of money and bribe, so you are on. Everybody listen.
Apologies for butting in this nice conversation and fight between Anand and M. Shastri. It is fascinating. My point is that I don't completely. I'm somebody who often criticized Ashish Dhar in many ways. He used to always have that Kashmiri thing, and he used to always go against BJP. And back then, I was a master stroke wadi guy, so I was like, Modi and Amit Shah ki jai ho. I hate Ashish Dhar. But the thing is, Ashish Dhar has something that the BJP and Sangh will never realize, and that is, Ashish Dhar is able to appear attractive to the more elite sections of society. And that is a very important way to get your points through. That is that the Sangh and BJP have been complete failures when it comes to be it the UGC thing, be it the farm laws, be it whatever they do. They are unable to appeal to the elite sections, which is why they have to come up with these, band-aid reforms every now and then and play party caste politics. That's exactly what actually Ashish Dhar is also saying in a way. And this will continue to be as long as the Sangh and BJP are not meritocratic. When they are more meritocratic, when they look beyond people's names and all that, just like the CPIM, they will be able to have a greater foothold in the narrative building process. Now you might say CPIM is a loser party. They lose elections because of many factors, but you have to understand the communists are going to be alive and well because of their ability to promote merit, strangely, despite being communists. So that till merit is not pushed, I don't see the Sangh and BJP ever being able to get rid of caste politics or the other myriad issues that surround them. And internally speaking, I've seen some of their workings in some organizations, and it is no longer, I don't think there is any space for merit here. And that is precisely why I don't see much hope from them. Rather, I would say Ashish Dhar is doing something very smart here by appealing to the more erudite sections of Hindus who will ultimately, whether we like it or not, who will ultimately set the narrative tone. And that's always been the case. That is still the case. Whether you call Jesai Deepak names or Anand Ranganathan names or any of the people we see in public today preaching Hindutva, the thing is that these people are the ones who set the tone for the arguments. Even today we are debating Ashish Dhar, who is reasonably well-read and erudite. So that section will always have its appeal, and that is precisely how Dhruv Rathi becomes relevant. Now, to us, Dhruv Rathi might be an idiot. But for Gen Z people who have very little information and understanding of the world, Dhruv Rathi is a genius to them. Okay, now he overplayed his hand with Dhurandhar and got screwed. That's a different issue. But the fact is, there will always appear to be people who are well spoken in English, who have maybe expertise in a field like law or science or something, or they have a doctor beside their name, or some kind of expertise which always appeals to the younger generation. So my point is this, that and I have to leave in like 2-3 minutes. I'm sorry, because it's midnight and I am I'm joining for a very brief period. But I think that instead of chasing who did this, because it's pretty clear that somebody from the top must have signaled this. I'm pretty sure for a political party that is aware of who goes where, who does what, who says what to whom. I'm pretty sure they have spies and people everywhere, and such a big draft regulation coming out and they never had any idea of it. That's not the case. In which case, either their feedback mechanism is crap, in which case they have to seriously wake up. If they knew this was happening and they still allowed it to happen, then we have to understand there are other nefarious designs at hand which we don't know. If they made it happen, if the top leadership made this regulation happen, then we have to believe that they have lost. They have just pushed forth another challenge towards Hindutva, and they are doing exactly what the colonizers did for 250 years and plus, and and also Congress and all did. That we can use caste as a stick to beat people up, which is being done still by George Soros and company and all these people. So we have to either break that stick somehow with logic and facts and whatever way we can, or narrative or rigor, or we have to keep expecting to get beaten. We'll have to be scared. Matlab stick koi bhi use kar sakta hai. Even the people we trust can use that stick and beat us up with it at any time. And that's the problem of giving them the stick in the first place, allowing them to have the stick. Yes, I agree that a lot of people, actually with Anand, I agree to that extent that, when Maulana Azad became the education minister, I don't know how many people protested. And again, we have a lot of excuses, but there were 5 Muslim education ministers and nobody did shit. Then when the BJP came and kept saying we won't change the syllabus right now, karke 10 saal ho gaya, then they got screwed and then they realized they have to change the syllabus. Then there weren't enough protests when they were required, and now we are screwed beyond recognition, and now we have to, I guess, take a last stand or something. Every few days it's a last stand. So that's the whole problem. We didn't nip a lot of problems in the bud. And I guess that's the whole point, that Shatrubodh nahi tha. When Shatrubodh came about a bit, it came only after a crisis, and a huge crisis. And then after a huge crisis, then you realize when SC/ST Act is being misused everywhere, men's rights laws are being misused. उसके ऊपर तो बीजेपी को छोड़ी दो, men's rights के ऊपर तो कोई काम ही नहीं करता है. So in that sense, we have to form our own discourse in whatever way, because street power, I don't think GCs can ever show. Honestly, we keep talking about it, it will never happen. Okay. But yes, thanks to the gods above, we have social media now, and we can repeatedly hammer points. We can repeatedly fight for our rights, GC people, and even other caste people, lower caste people who are not so, who are not enticed by the stupid caste politics all the time. They can join, and we can all put a united front on social media. What else? And there's nothing more to do for now except raise our voices continually. But it must also be done with a lot of finesse, and that's what I think Ashish Dhar brings to the table, which despite being a vocal critic of his politics for a very long time, I have to agree that he's playing it smart. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Something
Okay.
just connected to what academic just said. The stick that is used to beat you is given by you. You give the stick to the state. Say मुझे मारो, I feel guilty. हमारे history के लिए I feel guilty. Why the hell should I feel guilty for actions imagined or real that was done by people 10, 20 generations before me? Why the hell should I feel guilty? Why should I pay the bloody price? Did I take their property? Am I sitting on that property that was earned? That property is dead and buried. It has been shifted by thousands of people, change hands. Why the hell should I feel guilty for that bloody whatever the operation that happened then? Today, am I going and oppressing someone else? That should be the argument we should be making. But we are busy saying, oh, state, इनका operation हो रहा है, मैं बैठा हूँ thousands of miles away, मुझे भी guilty feel करना है. First, you need to think as an individual, are you the oppressor? No, you're not. Why the hell should you feel guilty? ये तो problem है.
आनंद मैं इस पर एक बात कहना चाहता हूँ आनंद. मैं कहना चाहता हूँ अब इस विषय से ये जो यूजीसी का ये जो मुद्दा उठा है और इसमें जो थोड़ी सी आग लगी है भारत में, हमें अब चर्चा को इस दिशा में ले जाना चाहिए कि राइट शुड बी ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स, नॉट ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ ग्रुप्स. हमारे जैसे लॉज है ना कि SC ST इसको प्रोटेक्ट करना है, ओबीसी को प्रोटेक्ट करना है, विमेन को प्रोटेक्ट करना है. ये नहीं होकर सबके लिए आप इक्वल लॉज बनाइए, सबको एज एन इंडिविजुअल ट्रीट कीजिए. इस दिशा में हमारी चर्चा जानी चाहिए.
अरे
उल्टा हो ऐसा रहा है कि पॉलिसीज ऐसे बन रहे हैं जो और उल्टी दिशा में जा रहे हैं और प्रोटेक्टिव ग्रुप्स को बढ़ाए जा रहे हैं. समस्या यहाँ है.
We are acknowledging why the SC what do you call reservation was brought in the first place. It is very clear. Reservation was very clear. Said reservation is brought in to protect against historically disenfranchised communities and only SC and ST communities. But we have allowed Mandal and other groups. And we celebrated also. Oh, they're financially weaker. They're societally weaker. No, that is not what the constitution says. Constitution says only few communities that are historically backward, who are historically discriminated, reserve reservation. And we Hindus are not in pushback in saying, why are you adding OBC? Why are you adding women? Why are you adding these groups? We're like, no, we'll celebrate it. We celebrate it. We are the stupid people celebrating this bullshit.
No. My problem,
okay,
Anand.
Okay. Okay. Academic man, you had some last word to say before you leave.
Yes, sorry for butting in. I think Anand has a very good point that why should we pay for whatever imagined sins happened like 10,000 years ago? Agreed. And Abhay, I think the problem with promoting individual rights is that it's a kind of you see, it's a snake eating its own tail, in a sense that the real issue starts when we fail to band as individuals into a group. So that in itself is kind of unproductive. If you think about it, that we can debate in another. I think that we can have another longer separate debate on that later. Now the problem that Anand was talking about is that I think first and foremost, we have a few issues plaguing us and we have to take each issue at hand and solve it. And the biggest issue I see, as usual, hitting us always in the face is caste. And इसके ऊपर चर्चा अलग से और educated manner में होना चाहिए. Otherwise, we fail to, we keep this alive. Like if we fight for 10 issues, individual rights, this, that, will fail because the level of sophistication required to talk about these things is missing, and we have to have more, let's say, easier to digest ideas. For example, when Dr. Ambedkar's book started becoming popular again after BJP came to power, it was easier for a lot of people to convince a lot of people that there is some issues with certain faiths, certain religions, which cannot coexist with others. So it became easy because you have very simple points and you can say, acha, this guy said that and Ambedkar said this, and if you read this particular text, you will find that, and people found it, and now it's becoming a more accepted idea that there are some religions that are incompatible with others. the same way we need some easier to digest counters to caste, which can, I believe, help in building the power edifice of power from which we can then challenge these pre-existing bullshit about oppression and stuff. So I think what my analysis of caste has been, for after studying it for years, is that the main thing that keeps hitting us is that Indian society is unique. Now this is where the trads like even Ashish Dhar and all get very angry, but but it's a very effective way in which I've seen right now Republicans argue as well. Okay, people like Matt Walsh are doing it really well, and I'm sorry I just got inspired by that. But when you point to other countries and say, भाई उनमें भी slavery था, और हमने actually solve किया, when Americans say that, you know, though they had slaves, they had Africa as slaves, they keep pointing fingers, and that works, that helps actually. I know it's actually a simplistic but beautiful strategy if you think about it. You just need to remember 5 places that had slavery, and once you start asking people questions, they stop. You know, they have nothing to say basically. They can't keep attacking you uniquely, and we have to keep emphasizing the existence of caste everywhere outside India. Other than that, I see no sophisticated argument. Like every other argument is too sophisticated for everyone else to follow. So the problem that happens is that we need something simple enough to appeal to the, let's say, common denominators, the lower orders, the people who are not so invested like us, so that they can digest it easier. We need enough knowledge we have the means thanks to social media. We also have to give something that is also simultaneously credible enough. Matlab simple, matlab, with, you know, you can't just say WhatsApp University stuff, right? Like they will point out. So you need just enough knowledge to challenge it and then do it. Yeah. So yeah, that's my 2 bits. Thank you.
मैं एक बात बोल दूं कि मैं इंडिविजुअल राइट्स की इसीलिए बात कर रहा था क्योंकि आई एम नॉट जस्ट फोकसिंग ऑन कास्ट प्रॉब्लम, क्योंकि आप जब इंडिविजुअल राइट्स की बात नहीं करेंगे तो और भी प्रॉब्लम्स है इंडिया में, जैसे जेंडर के इश्यूज है, कास्ट के इश्यूज है, और भी जैसे माइनॉरिटीज को स्पेशल राइट्स दिए गए। जब तक कि आप इंडिविजुअल राइट्स के बेसिस पर इन पर आर्ग्यू नहीं करेंगे तब तक आप ये सारे भेदभाव जो हमारे संविधान और कानूनों में उसको आप नहीं हटा सकते। तो मैं इसीलिए बोल रहा था कि कभी ना कभी आपको इंडिविजुअल राइट्स तक पहुंचना पड़ेगा। मैं आपके कास्ट को लेकर जो स्ट्रैटेजी है,
हाँ,
आपकी जो कास्ट को लेकर स्ट्रैटेजी है, ओके आप बोल दीजिए, आप बोल दीजिए।
I'll just finish my point. I agree with you. My only point is that to get to the level at which we can make more sophisticated arguments, we need to raise the level of discourse in the country. And to do that, actually, it has to be more meritocratic. And to become more meritocratic, we have to first beat caste. Like, I'm not saying that your argument isn't important. Your argument is the most important one, Abhay. But the problem is to get there, we need to raise everything, because the first time you will talk about individual, what about caste, what about gender, what about this, what about that, like you have to, I mean, that's like the final level 10 at which you're talking about, and it's the most important. But to reach there, we need maybe 10 years, 20 years of simply beating the existing crap that is just, that is too much already. So that's my realistic, from my point of view, a realistic take on what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Okay, so before we proceed, Shastri had a presentation to actually discuss. Shastri, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here, but let me just put in my last words, right?
No, you want to go through the presentation, so go ahead. Next 10 minutes is for you.
Yeah, but let me just put in some last words. Intellectualism will not get us anywhere. I'm going to be very honest over here. You need a political strategy. You need political action. There's only one person that's doing that right now, and that's the person on the screen that you see over there. This entire discussion on UGC was just an effort of one person diligently going through the regulations, the notifications, trying to hunt down people. They've already found a person. And here's the thing. I think in the comments, like this Anand basically said, Congress is a scum, we're not voting for them. How do you impose political costs on a party, the BJP particularly, without ensuring the scum comes into power? This is the way to do it. You need a political strategy. That is much more important than all the intellectualism that you can do. You can write a whole 3-hour treatise on game theory, but it won't do anything unless there's political action on the ground, right? Even BJP RSS hi is right. You need to pick on some neutral values. What do you think Harshal Mehta over here is doing? Like, just read that tweet. Look at what he's pointing out. He's talking about individual rights over there. तू एक इंडिविजुअल बन के तेरे ऊपर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होने वाला है. He's the one who's basically bringing all the political grounds for. That is much more important than, game theory hai, Nash's equilibrium hai, Nash's trap hai. It's all garbage at the end of the day, because it's all the entire. They're making assumptions on very high level stuff, and it never pans out that way. And you have to go back to the beginning of this video with this stream, actually, where I basically said that, if you applied game theory, the international relations, they apply game theory all the time. At the beginning of the year, if you applied game theory, you'd come to the conclusion that Trump has no choice but to be allies with India. But that did not happen. That did not happen. But at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year, if you applied the same game theory, you would have reached the conclusion that Europeans would not want to ally with India. But look at the end of the year. What has happened?
No, because it is a dynamic game. I am sorry to say this. You cannot blame game theory for this.
No. Because the
It is a
initial
dynamic
assumptions.
game. It can change.
No,
the equilibrium will change, no?
No, this is because you're assuming the actors are rational. Your initial set of assumptions are completely wrong. Right? So that's what happens with game theory. Game theory just narrows your options down for a certain set of options.
It can be stochastic. You cannot blame game theory. See, the result that game theory will give you,
I'm not blaming game theory. I'm not blaming game theory. I'm saying that it's a tool. You have to basically understand how that tool applies. Right? You have to understand what assumptions you're making, what probabilities what assumptions you're making, how you're deriving those probabilities, and how you're performing those particular kinds of game theory based calculations. What are the choices there? How are you limiting choices? It's a tool to basically understand. It's a tool to basically, for you to basically come up with a certain kind of strategy that may work or might not work. It's a tool to basically limit the number of choices that you need to put your resources into. Right? It's not some broad intellectual framework out there to explain how the world works. If you think that is the best application of game theory, I'm sorry, you're only deluding yourself. This comes from a daily practitioner of game theory.
So you are thinking that Congress and BJP, they are not rational, so you cannot approximate them as rational actors who are trying to maximize their utility function? I mean, I would say they are pretty rational with their.
I'm saying it'll only apply to a certain subset of very specific issues, not the entire political spectrum, like how Dhar puts it.
I think in the context of casteism, he's pretty bang on. I mean, there are
I don't think so, because the thing is, like, caste politics
is again a discrete game. Congress has two choices, BJP has two choices. Here are the rewards, and this is a discrete game with a very specific Nash equilibrium.
No, but you're limiting it to just two. So the problem is you're limiting.
If you watched just one intervention, small intervention, if you watch the video, if you continue to watch the video, you will see that he has explained it in a context game theory. He's explained it in a very rational context that why political parties want to hold on to caste, and there are rational reasons for it. There is nothing emotional
No,
behind
what
it.
I'm trying to say is initial
What
assumption itself
political
is
parties
wrong,
are doing.
right? No. I'm saying his initial assumptions are itself wrong. He's
No,
assuming
you
the
tell me what
actors
are
are
the
only
assumptions.
political
I think
parties. That's not the case. Look at
what are
what
the
is being
assumptions here?
presented on the screen.
Can you tell me?
That guy is also a player. Karni Sena is also a player. Other players have joined into the game.
No, but
If you
overall,
think
you are taking
only political
BJP
parties,
Congress
no,
as two parties, right?
if
Why not?
if you think only political parties are the only actors in the entire game of politics, I think your fundamental assumption is completely wrong. There are
But it is the
non-political
Congress and
actors
BJP
in
who
the
are fighting
entire.
elections, right?
No, there are
No,
non-political
but
actors in the.
he
There are non-political actors in the entire game. You have one that's being presented to you in your screen right now. We are talking about. See,
I
the
we
only
get
reason
it.
we are talking about UGC is because of this one non-political actor here. Other non-political actors have
We
also
get
joined
it.
the game.
No, I don't
We
agree.
get
I
your
don't agree
point.
fully with one particular.
We get
It's
your point,
because of a
Shastri.
pattern
My point was just 1 second, Anand. My point is that actors may be there, but why BJP is acting in a certain way to implement a certain policy, there is a rationale behind it. And Ashish Dhar has used game theory in that context. That's the point.
You
Let's say
can no, you
society
can.
wants caste. Let me finish. Let's say society wants caste. Okay, whatever caste. Okay, but for BJP to consider whether it wants to implement the caste thing or not, there is a rationale behind it. BJP is not thinking emotionally, or the political parties are not thinking emotionally. The society may. And Ashish Thar is talking in terms of political parties, why they choose a certain ideology or why they choose to implement a policy. That's the point he was trying to get.
And let me be clear, I've been seeing this coming from for a year or two already, and this pattern is very visible in the BJP's behavior. So it is not some random what called bureaucrat who implement this. This is very clear that their plan to weaponize caste politics in schools is very obvious. But I didn't know it is going to go this far. I didn't think this far, this quickly is going to happen. It is very obvious with the way they were co-opting certain groups and trying to bring them into the fold.
Caste
We
census
assume
करा
that
लिया.
they're bringing them into the fold to get some unity and have some discussions, have some frank conversations with one another, and maybe come to a middle ground. We didn't think they're going to do a Congress style thing where you basically say, oh, this group is the largest group, give most votes. Let us target the group that give us the least votes, and we don't really care about them fundamentally because they'll give us votes regardless. Who will they go to, right? This very ruthless, cold-hearted thinking, cold-hearted logic. We didn't think it's going to the BJP is going to implement it so quickly. I didn't think it was going to implement it so quickly. I was thinking, okay, maybe they'll develop. We'll wait until 2047, then they might implement it. But apparently, they decided now itself is the best time to do it, so they're doing it now. So I knew this was coming from a mile away. This is coming to a law that we are all discussing right now. Congress is anyway going to do this shit, but they're going the leftist route. BJP is going the Hindutva. I don't know what do you call Hindutva. I don't even know it's Hindutva anymore. It's not Hindutva anymore, in my opinion.
अरे
No, bro,
लास्ट
this
ईयर ही तो
cannot be
किया था ना,
Hindutva.
या 2024 या 2023 में इन्होंने कास्ट सेंसस करवाया. ठीक है, इन्होंने काफी सारे जैसे ओएसी जैसे लोगों को टीवी में लाया, प्रमोट किया. दे हैव बीन डूइंग दिस थिंग फॉर अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम. और बोल रहे हैं ना, पूछ रहे हैं कि स्ट्रैटेजी क्या हो सकता है. हम लोग ठीक है यहाँ बात कर रहे हैं, लोगों को जगा रहे हैं. नहीं, अगर हमें पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रैटेजी चाहिए तो हमें वो तोते पे हिट करना होगा, और वो तोता मोदी है. मोदी
No,
पे
it's
हिट
not
करना
Modi.
होगा कि
I don't.
इस
It's not
बंदे
fair.
को
It's
निकालो.
not fair.
ये
It's not
बोलोगे
fair.
तब चेंज आएगा,
No, I don't
क्योंकि
agree.
Okay,
यही बंदा है वो करा रहा है. अच्छा, मैं
okay,
अगर
okay.
मान लो मैं स्कूल जाता हूँ, स्कूल में जाके मैं कुछ एग्जाम था, एग्जाम में मैंने लिख के कुछ फेल हो गया, तो ये बात फिर मेरे माँ बाप पे आ जाएगा क्या, मेरे दोस्तों पे आ जाएगा क्या, या फिर मैं जो खाना खा के गया था इस पे आ जाएगा क्या कि उससे एनर्जी नहीं आया, बंदा फेल हो गया. भाई जो बंदा जो मिनिस्ट्री जहां से निकल रहा है उसी को पूछेंगे ना, तो इसीलिए मोदी को पूछ रहे हैं। मोदी को ढकने की क्या जरूरत है? लोग उससे इतना मास्किंग क्यों दे रहे हैं, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है।
कोई
हिट करो
मास्किंग
एक
नहीं दे
बंदे
रहा
को,
भाई,
देखिए
हम लोग एविडेंस
देखिए
डायरेक्टली भी
एक ही
बीजित दा
बंदे के हिसाब से एक ही फोटो का
देखिए
जब इलेक्शन होता है एक ही बंदे का फोटो आता है ना। अगर
देखिए
गांधी जी
बीजित
का भी
दा
हो,
इसमें
नेताजी
एक
का भी
अच्छा
बर्थडे
स्ट्रैटेजी मैं
सेलिब्रेशन हो,
निकाला हूँ।
एक बड़ा सा फोटो मोदी का आता है, तो वो तोते पे हिट करो कि इस बंदे को निकालो।
देखिए
फिर यही पॉलिटिकल स्टांस होगा हमारे लिए। हम लोग आलोचना कर रहे हैं,
आई
ठीक
विल
है,
नॉट सपोर्ट दैट।
बीजित दा
आलोचना
मेरे
कर रहे हैं,
पास एक
ठीक है,
स्ट्रैटेजी
बट
है। मैं
अगर हमें
मैं
हिट
बताता हूँ,
करना
एक
है कहीं पे
स्ट्रैटेजी है
कि मोदी
बीजित दा।
हटाओ बीजेपी बचाओ, नहीं तो हम लोग ऑब्वियसली पॉलिटिकल पार्टी तो नहीं क्रिएट कर सकते। यहाँ से मुश्किल भी है क्योंकि ना मीडिया मिलेगा ना कुछ मिलेगा। बट अगर बीजेपी के अंदर ये क्रिएट करो कि मोदी को हटाओ, फिर बहुत फायदा है।
बी-
अगर
No,
क्रिएट
BJP will
करो कि
lose.
बीजित
मोहन भगवत को
No,
हटाओ,
BJP will lose if Modi. No, I don't agree. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I don't.
बीजित
okay,
दा मेरे पास एक
hold on.
स्ट्रैटेजी है, एक स्ट्रैटेजी है।
बताओ बताओ, आई वांट टू लिसन। हाँ, यस, सी वी
हम्म।
नीड
हाँ,
सम
मैं
वेपनाइजेशन
बताता
ऑफ
हूँ।
आवर स्ट्रेटेजी।
देखिए स्ट्रैटेजी बनाइए, जैसे मोदी के जो चापलूस है पहले बीजेपी में, उसको टारगेट करो। कैसे करो? जैसे एमपी से ये शुरू हुआ है, वो जो मुख्यमंत्री है एमपी का, यही उसने ही पहले नाटक शुरू किया था, वो एफिडेविट डालने वालने का। उसको उसका खटिया खड़ी करो पहले। क्योंकि मान लीजिए हम एमपी में हार भी जाते हैं, एक स्टेट हारना सेंटर से हारने से ठीक है। ठीक है, यदि हमको ये एक मैसेज देने के लिए सेंटर गवर्नमेंट को ये करना भी पड़े, वी शुड डू इट इफ पुश कम्स टू शव। कि ऐसा हो कि जैसे 160 सीटें लेकर के एमपी में हम जीते, ठीक है, तो उसकी सीटें कम करके 120 या 30 कर दो एमपी में। जिसने ये
आई
पहले
थिंक
आरंभ किया कास्ट का नाटक, वो वो उस पर
हाँ, मतलब
एक चीज
आक्रमण
मैं
पीछे
करो।
राजा
ऐड करना
बनाओ
चाहता
लेकिन
हूँ।
कपड़े
ठीक है,
निकाल
एक
दो,
चीज मैं ऐड
Okay,
करना
कपड़े
चाहता
निकाल
हूँ।
दो।
hold on. Shastri, go ahead.
फिर
Actually,
Shastri.
the first immediate goal should be the firing of Dharmendra Pradhan. वो इतना बड़ा झटका देगा कि पूरा सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट हिल जाएगा। Unless you get rid of Dharmendra Pradhan, nothing will change.
आई अग्री
This
विथ
is
यू
what
शास्त्री, आई अग्री विथ यू। तो धर्मेंद्र प्रधान को अटैक करो। मैं
एग्जैक्टली
मैं मोहन
एग्जैक्टली,
यादव
वही
को
सब
बोला,
सबको
लोग
अटैक
आप
करो,
धर्मेंद्र प्रताप को अटैक करो।
राइट।
आई डोंट हैव अ प्रॉब्लम विद दैट।
लोगों को अटैक करो,
मैं
बीजेपी को अटैक करके फायदा नहीं हो रहा है, लोगों को अटैक करो, उस
आप
पे
धर्मेंद्र
पोल
प्रधान के
मारो,
पीछे
उस पे
पड़ जाओ।
हैशटैग बनाओ।
मैं तो
हाँ,
धर्मेंद्र
मैं तो
प्रधान के
बोलता हूँ,
पीछे पड़ जाओ। ये अपना मामी दादा जगदीश कुमार जो बाबू है यूजीसी का, उसके पीछे पड़ो। देख, यू हैव मैसेज देना है तो बहुत बहुत अलग अलग तरीके से आप मैसेज दे सकते हो।
और जो इसको
बट ये
डिफेंड करे,
फोकस
मैं ये भी कह रहा हूँ, जो इसको डिफेंड करने आए, जैसे वो निशिकांत दुबे जी आए थे,
मैक्सिमम
उसका
78-80%
दुबे जी
जो
का
है
एक
78-80% जो
AKG
है
कर दो।
केवल और केवल
मैं
जो
सीधा
है
बोलता हूँ, जो डिफेंड
सवर्ण
करने
जाति
आए
के जो
उसको
है
धो
जज बैठे हुए
सोशल
हैं
मीडिया।
और आप अपना कानून चलाओगे, ये कानून नहीं चलेगा।
हाँ, धोते रहो।
शेड्यूल कास्ट जज नहीं है, शेड्यूल ट्राइब जज नहीं है, ओबीसी जज
Here is
नहीं
it for
है।
you.
मैक्सिमम 78-80% जो है 78-80% जो है केवल और केवल जो है सवर्ण जाति के जो है जज बैठे हुए हैं और आप अपना कानून चलाओगे, ये कानून
अबे
नहीं
तू
चलेगा।
अपना एमपी का सीट दे दे किसी SC ST को, इतना ही है। तू दुबे है ना,
See,
जाके एमपी का अपना एमपी का सीट दे दे किसी SC ST को।
I think
फालतू बकैती कर
President
रहा
Dubey some he's from UP or MP. He's from UP, I think. Not sure.
है। ही
Let's
इज
see
फ्रॉम
where
झारखंड,
he's.
ही इज फ्रॉम
Oh
झारखंड।
yeah, he's from Jharkhand. Correct.
see, I have a different solution, and the solution is much more simpler. Each each Hindu can participate in this. Only political people can get rid of Dharmendra Pradhan or something. But each Hindu can participate in this. Stop with this bloody pandering politics. Both हो गया भाई. I'm getting sick of it actually. Oh, Mohan Yadav को बना दिया MP का चीफ मिनिस्टर. What a progressive step. बीजेपी ने किया ये bullshit. जब when the MP election was won, didn't every bloody BJP handle so go say Mohan Yadav is Yadav CM. What a great progressive step. भाड़ में जाए वो यादव है. Did he good job or not? ये क्या बंदा था राजस्थान में? ओ इसको इलेक्ट कर दिया, वो ब्राह्मण था. What a progressive step. ये क्या भाड़ में? Who cares what they bloody उसका जाति क्या है भाई? उसने किया कुछ
सीधा
किया
बोलो, कोई आइडेंटिटी के लेकर कोई बात नहीं होगा जब कोई मुख्यमंत्री पर बात होगा। तो जब हमने मोदी जी को चुना था, उनको ओबीसी एससी एसटी देख के नहीं चुना था, इसीलिए चुना था कि हमको वो व्यक्ति योग्य लगा था उस पद के लिए।
बराबर
तो
उन्होंने
सीधा
किया ना,
योग्यता पे बात हो।
वो किया ना, मैं ओबीसी हूँ, मैं चाय वाला था, मैं इतना प्रोग्रेसिव आऊ, मैं चाय वाला से हो गया ये, अभी कर रहे हैं वो रिसेंटली कुछ 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 किसी को लाइक कुछ दिया था, आई डोंट नो, सम अवार्ड दिया था, बोला ओ ही केम फ्रॉम अ वेरी पुअर बैकग्राउंड एंड ही बिकेम सो पावरफुल। ये पैंडरिंग पॉलिटिक्स क्या कर रहे हैं आप लोग? जस्ट गिव मेरिट, इसने ये किया है, इसने ये अचीव किया है, इसके लिए अवार्ड ये दो, इसके गिविंग दिस रिवॉर्ड। ये अब भी पैंडरिंग पॉलिटिक्स कर रहे हैं 20th सेंचुरी में, 21st सेंचुरी में पैंडरिंग पॉलिटिक्स कर रहे हैं, और इनको विकसित भारत बनाना है। विकसित भारत ऐसे
Okay,
बनाएगा,
Anand.
you'll build a world class robotics network with, oh ये यादव ने ये robotics बनाया है, looks so great, ये ऐसे बोलेंगे आप?
Okay.
ऐसे करेंगे आप?
Okay,
नहीं नहीं,
Anand.
आगे जाकर
अरे wait,
यादव एआई, सवर्ण एआई और महार
wait.
एआई, ये सब बनेगा।
अरे अरे
बोल
ठीक
रहा
है,
हूँ
अभी
ना।
हमारा एआई चालू होने वाला है। अच्छा, शास्त्री, गो अहेड विद योर एनालिसिस।
Yeah, so there's I think अपना 2 घंटे के डिस्कशन में एक चीज बहुत क्लियर था कि there is a crisis within the broader movement, right? And this is another crisis point that I actually want to bring forward as well. So recently क्या हुआ कि महाराष्ट्र में there were municipal elections. Now पिछले 10 साल में म्युनिसिपल इलेक्शंस कंडक्ट नहीं हुआ था. So essentially all municipalities and municipal corporations in Maharashtra were sort of being operated in an autopilot manner, and unka respective Maharashtra commissioners were managing the city's affairs. So kuch political decisions nahi ho raha tha. There was no political consultations going on. So it was high time to have Maharashtra elections. Elections आए और गए, और अभी रिजल्ट का वक्त आ गया है. सो नेक्स्ट पेज दिख ही नहीं रहा है यहाँ पर.
No, I am doing it. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. So देखा जाए तो I think if you look at the results, it's actually a pretty excellent result, right? So out of 2,800 seats, almost half से ज्यादा तो बीजेपी को गया है, right? Or if you add in Shinde and NCP, it's more than half. They have basically 2/3 हो गया, वो complete wipe.
Two-thirds.
Yeah. 2/3 complete wipe. But there is something more interesting about this results beyond the top line result. Next page. So if you look at it, right, this is Thane Municipal Corporation. This is the result in Thane Municipal Corporation. तो ये शिंदे सेना का गढ़ है. This is their stronghold basically. You look at the top line number, it's all fine and dandy. 75 for in a ward in a municipal council of 132 seats, they got 75. ये चौका मार दिया यहाँ पर. बीजेपी got 30. ये भी और एक चौका मार दिया है. NCP SP in this case, they were not allies of Mahayuti, right? But even if you sorry, not NCP SP. NCP was not an ally of Mahayuti in this in Thane Municipal Corporation, but उन्हें भी add करेगा तो it's basically like 2/3. It's pretty similar to what the assembly elections was like. But I want you to pay attention to this 5 here under AIMIM. Next slide. These 5 seats or wards, they come from a specific suburb of Thane called Mumbra. Now the interesting thing is that this particular 5 wards used to be the stronghold of a NCP SP MLA called Jitendra Awad. ये बहुत बड़ा बाहुबली इंसान है, हरामखोर और बहुत बड़ा बाहुबली इंसान है. If you think क्या होता है वो, उदयनिधि स्टालिन वाज बहुत हरामखोर है, तो ये उसका मराठी वर्जन है बेसिकली, राइट? सो एंड मुम्ब्रा इज बेसिकली 80% मुस्लिम, राइट? ये पूरा नेबरहुड इज बेसिकली 80% मुस्लिम. सो एनीथिंग दैट वुड हैपन, कोई तो म्यूट हो जाओ यार, बैकग्राउंड में नॉइस आ रहा है.
Noise? Okay. Where is Sami?
ओह ठीक है,
Go ahead,
अब
go
गया
ahead, go ahead.
निकल गया. या सो क्या हुआ है कि इस गढ़ में, स्पेशली इन मुम्ब्रा, without the permission of Award, or without the Ashirwad of Award, a candidate would not get elected into the ward elections, the council elections, right? But ulta kya hua hai ki is baar all the candidates that Jitendra Award promoted have been voted out, and primarily they've been voted out by a Islamist party of AIMIM. So थोड़ा डिटेल में जरा देखेंगे तो यू फर्स्ट नोटिस इज दैट his candidates, like Award's candidates, have been defeated by a vote margin of more than 1,000. ये ward election पे it's actually a huge number. It's not a tiny number, right? And similarly, if you go to Malegaon is another municipal corporation. It's like somewhere near Nashik, right? It's also a city similar to Nu or Mewat near Delhi, which is 80% Muslim. In the past, before the municipal elections and even before assembly elections, Congress used to basically dominate this area. कांग्रेस पार्टी के अंदर एक मुसलमान चेला रहेगा, उसको सब वोट देते थे. बट इस बार दोनों असेंबली और म्युनिसिपल इलेक्शंस पे दैट डिड नॉट हैपन. बेसिकली basically they voted for this party called as Islam Party, India Secular Alliance for something something. एकदम ये पार्टी का नाम इस्लाम रखा है और फिर उसका एक्रोनिम का फुल फॉर्म उन लोग ने कुछ बना के रखा है, right? So you can understand what this party is all about. The second interesting thing is, even let's say the Congress was defeated, right? You'd expect the Congress to be runners up, but मालेगांव का इलेक्शन पे देखा जाए तो रनर अप यहाँ पर तो एआईएमआईएम है. कांग्रेस तो सीन से निकल गया. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड.
Just hold on. Yeah, go next.
Similarly, संभाजी नगर भी देखा जाए तो it's the same thing. Wherever Congress was, it's been replaced by AIMIM or a local Islamist outfit, basically Islamist political party. In both cases, it's like basically wherever there's 80% Muslims, the first one is a Islamist, the winner is an Islamist party. The second runner-up is an Islamist party. Next page.
I think this is the last page.
Oh, okay.
I think you have 5 slides.
So what can you derive from this? First thing first is that secularism is completely dead. Right? Politically, it's dead. मुसलमान भी अभी मान नहीं रहे. The second thing you need to understand is that there's been a fundamental shift in Muslim politics in India. Right? So if I were to quote Hamid Dalwai and his very prescient book that he wrote in the late 1950s, Muslim Politics in India, the first concern that he highlighted was the fact that Musalman violence apnaenge, that they'll increasingly become more and more violent, more and more anti-Diluvian. माने कि उन लोग का प्रॉब्लम, जिस उनके समाज में जो समस्या होते हैं उसका सुधार क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग से नहीं आएगा, सिर्फ कुरान या हदीथ पढ़ने से आएगा. So that's anti-Diluvianism. That was his biggest concern, right? But what we see right now is a sort of complete paradigm shift and an evolution of Muslim politics that even Hamid Dalwai wouldn't have anticipated in. So basically क्या हुआ है कि पिछले 10 साल में, right, there's been a sort of compact, right? So that's been broken, and that compact is basically like एक secular politician आएगा, they will go to the Muslim community and say, hey, I have a subset of Hindus, you vote for me, I will ensure that you have both political power, and I will turn a blind eye to whatever you do, and I will ensure that you are appeased. And this was the basic political formulation between secularists and the Muslim community. Now, ever since BJP came to power in the past 10 years, what has happened is that this particular compact has been slowly broken down, right? Your secular politicians cannot protect the bad things that will come from the Muslim community. So, for example, Sharad Pawar ek time pe kya karta tha ki when there was a riot in Maharashtra, he would deploy the RAF, Rapid Action Forces, basically anti-riot police, in the Muslim communities, but let the bloodletting happen in the Hindu communities. And then he would, on top of it, he would basically blame the Hindu community. And usko waise vote milta tha. Awad is actually someone who mastered this strategy in Mumra, right? But increasingly what has happened in the past 10 years is that this formula does not work anymore. तू दंगा फसाद करेगा, तेरे पूरे नेबरहुड पे बुलडोजर बेच के तेरा घर भी तोड़ देंगे, तेरा मस्जिद भी उसके साथ साथ तोड़ देंगे. So the power of violence that used to paralyze the Indian state has dissipated. And what has happened is now the Muslim community has basically decided that we need to change the formula. We need to come at it from a political perspective. And this is the analysis I wanted to present about the Maharashtra elections. Now, again, just this simple result, right, has actually reset a lot of political calculations all over the country. So I think everybody is trying to basically figure out what is their relations with every secular party. I mean, is trying to figure out what is their equation with the Muslim community. Has it changed in their respective constituency or not?
Okay, thank you, Shastri. And what we're going to do is we're going to finish this discussion today. We have ended the video at, let me see how much, 14:18. Okay, we're going to continue this discussion in our next discussion, where I am going to present few more things, okay, from the another perspective. Our discussion is primarily to have different kind of opinions come, share it, and some are valid, some are invalid. Somebody will have the counterpoints. I will give also my counterpoints, okay, whatever people are saying, correct? And also you will give your points and talk to each other. Probably we will do it after 2 or 3 days, because I will be traveling tomorrow. So maybe for 2 3 days I will not be there. So once Bijita also will be free with his engagements, we will continue and have this very exciting, important discussion, and we will see where we go. So thank you, everybody.
Namaste.
Hey, Shastri, by any chance you stay in Mumbai?
Yeah, I know that area really well.
Some time back, because Bijita lives in Thane.
Can I make a point about this election?
Go ahead.
See, let's be honest, okay? No matter what happens, there's only one community that, or one group of people that this entire community is completely loyal to, and it's only to Muslim leaders. It doesn't matter how much secular politics you play. Ultimately, they only vote for a particular kind of leader. what the Congress and all did was they had these leaders, and that's why they keep saying, "Say, give me a leader of my own faith," right? And this is the fundamental problem with our country. This idea that only your own leader, your own community leader can lead you properly, which is a ridiculous idea if you think about it. Because if you have a locality with 30% one community, 25% another community, 10% another community, 15% another community, are you saying that just because 30% votes their leader into power, the other communities will not get any services or benefits or any kind of what do you call it? They can't expect utilities, they can't expect power, they can't expect their house to get authorized. Obviously not. A representative is supposed to be working for everyone, and the representative is meant to work for every community. So what this is nonsense about your community getting into power? It's a stupid idea, in my opinion, and this has been propagated too bloody long in India. It needs to go, and until we push that, nothing's going to change, in my opinion.
Regarding the Muslim community, I'm pretty clear. I think in smaller segments, they have lost faith in secular parties. They think they are no more a viable political option anymore. Uh, if you look at a larger context, like in the context of the state or country, they know that secular parties are a more viable political option compared to your Islamist parties. But if you go to a smaller section like a city and all, where they are 70 or 80%, they think if we can elect an Islamist party, then why should we bother about a secular party? These secular parties aren't going to make much of a difference anyway because they are losing their narrative ground. BJP
They've
is
not
taking over their narrative. So
they've
they are
not
like,
lost
we will go with the Islamist
they have not lost
option.
faith. They have not lost faith. They are looking to push the sword in and twist. You understand? This is the point where
Yeah,
they've got the power and they want to wield it in a very aggressive way, and that's why they choose such politicians.
yeah, because they realize that there is no point talking about secularism now because uh, there is not enough secular Hindus. I mean, the number of so-called secular Hindus have reduced to a certain extent because Hindus have now started to speak up. So they
No,
are
no, no.
also sort of
Secular
preparing
Hindus.
against
No,
the
Not
Hindu side.
I think it's a little bit
secular
more than
Hindus.
that, right? So it's a little
It's
bit
not
more
secular
than that. So
Hindus. Let me explain what I think he understands what I'm saying. It's not about secular Hindus. They're saying secular politics got us benefits only so far. Right? When we needed it, we used it. Because in their so you see, a lot of these people call themselves
The
Indian
my
secular.
my point my
Let me
point
finish.
is
Let me
Anand.
finish.
What I meant
Let me
was
finish.
that
Hey, let me finish,
okay.
bhai. Why they call themselves is the Indian secular party, but it's an Islamist party, is because they took secularism mean to be Muslim rights. They're saying we don't even have to use the word secular anymore because it doesn't matter. Just call it Muslim party. People are okay with it. Hindus are okay with it. They don't challenge us. So just be Islam party. That's what the point is.
I think you're missing the basic point I'm also trying to make, right? So there used to be a certain form of street veto, right? You could not enter Mumbra and do any kind of development work for quite some time, right? You could not enter Mumbra and basically crack down on some of the more illicit kind of stuff that was happening, right? So Mumbra used to be because of its demographic, it sort of became a den where all kinds of illegal activity would just get pardoned away, right? And that pardoning used to happen because of because of secular politicians over there, right? They would either act as informants or they would basically act as obstructionists. So that was the role of a secular politician in this dynamic. Now, what I'm trying to say is that that dynamic has changed, right? In the past 10 years, governments of every level have basically understood the power of enforcing the law, right? So if there was any kind of, let's say, kand happening in Mumbra, uh, in maybe 10-15 years ago, the government would hesitate to send like a CID unit or conduct a raid over there. That's not the case anymore. If you engage in illicit activity and authorities know about it, the state government would immediately send if it is a Hindutva government, they would immediately send the authorities over there to conduct a raid, or they would they would basically um, invoke their civil asset forfeiture powers and send bulldozers over there. The same thing has been happening in Mumbai in the past 10 years. Similar things have been happening in Malegaon in the past 10 years, right? So this kind of protection that used to come from secular politicians has gone. So that has basically helped them basically come to a certain conclusion that, look, if we have to protect what we do as a community, then I think the best way to go about it is to dump the secular politician and simply go for our own political representation. And just to extend the analysis a little bit further down the road, what I think is happening, or what I believe might likely happen, is sort of like this Malaysianization of Indian politics, right? In Malaysia, you have a specific Hindu party, a specific Indian party, a Chinese party, and broad Islamic coalition, and broad swath of Islamist parties, and there's a grand coalition among them, right? I think something similar is happening over here without the grand coalition, or rather, it's the
Okay,
beginning
that's
of something
interesting.
similar is happening.
No, but you know what was really, what really
And the thing is, just to add one thing, these secular parties are not being able to defend their position to protect these so-called minorities, because their hypocrisy has been brutally exposed to those secular Hindus who used to support them. Like Hindus who were secular used to support these secular parties, thinking that minorities need protection. But due to change in narrative in last 10 years, I think the hypocrisy of secular parties was exposed to a great extent, because many secular Hindus thought these secular parties are just, but they were not being just. So secular Hindus started moving away. So what happened is these secular parties lost their political relevance, and the Muslims have also realized it. Therefore, they are saying, to hell with secular parties, we will go for direct representation. I think this is also one of the reasons, as per my analysis.
I think you
One
need
more
to
thing
add the Muslim factor into it, right? What is the community? How is the community benefiting from the secular politician? What services secular politicians are given? That's the angle I'm trying to tease out. Is that there was a particular service, these quote unquote service, these politicians provided. That service has fundamentally been broken consistently in the past 10 years, right? I mean, they were basically providing protection. वो protection आज नहीं मिल रहा है. I mean, protection for illicit everything and etc. etc.
See, one more thing, I was really surprised when I heard some of the pro Hindutva, pro government, not pro government, pro BJP's vision of Hindutva people surprised that Islam party won. And they're like, oh, how did the election commission allow this party to exist? I mean, are you guys, have you had your head in the ground for so decades? There was a communist party in India, multiple places. There's Communist Party, Maoist, Communist Party, CPI, CPIM. You literally had the Samajwadi Party, Socialist Party. Those are not directly compatible with the constitution, and they still had parties for so many decades. You're surprised that there is an Islam party? I mean, don't you understand that you can build any kind of party in India? The EC cannot stop you. So what is stopping you from creating a Sanatan party and saying, we only believe in Sanatan Dharma, we don't believe in the constitution? Communists don't believe in the constitution. They just act like they believe in the constitution.
अरे हमने
Why
ट्राई
can't
किया
you
था,
create a party
इसका
saying, I
अप्रूवल
believe
नहीं
in
मिला
Sanatan and I
इलेक्शन
don't believe
कमीशन
in
से.
the constitution? Sorry?
Election commission did not approve if you have the word Sanatan or Hindu. सनातन वर्ड
They
लिखोगे
cannot
तो
stop
इलेक्शन
you
कमीशन का
because if
अप्रूवल
you
नहीं
take it
आता,
to
बट
court,
इस्लाम
then take
मुसलमान
it to
लिखोगे
Supreme
तो
Court.
इलेक्शन कमीशन का अप्रूवल आ जाता है.
Then take it to bloody Supreme Court. What is stopping you from fighting that argument? Why are you saying before itself giving up? Why are you giving up beforehand itself? Create a Sanatan party, let the election commission not approve it, take it to
अप्रूवल अटक
Supreme
गया
Court.
था.
With Islam party, why can't I have Sanatan party? Why can't you make that argument? Why is everyone stopping making the argument, complaining beforehand? Make the argument, see if you lose, then if you do, then take the consequences. So everyone's just
Because
stopping
BJP
beforehand.
wants it. It's as simple as that. BJP
No, I
want
don't
these
agree.
parties, Islamic
No, I
party.
think Hindus is lazy. No,
Come
Hindus are
on,
lazy. I'm sorry.
you have to be practical. इस्लाम नाम से
नहीं.
पार्टी बन रहा है, AIMIM का मुसलमान है उसमें, वो बन सकता है, सनातन भारत पार्टी नहीं बन सकता.
Because
कौन
you're
करा था?
not stepping up and saying, I will fight this argument, this battle. No one's willing to fight the battle. You're like, no, we will take the easy way out.
पैसा चाहिए होता है भाई सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाने के लिए. हमारे पास पैसा नहीं था.
No, there are a lot of people who will fight the battle for you. There are a lot of people, Hindus, who will fight, help you will donate. You need to start this. I didn't start
नहीं
somewhere.
मिला भाई, पैसा नहीं मिला. आई एम बीइंग प्रैक्टिकल. जो हुआ है वो बता रहा हूँ. कोई पैसा वैसा नहीं
Okay.
मिला. हमने जितना फंडिंग मिला था
Okay.
उससे ट्राई किया, बट हुआ नहीं.
So we will continue this discussion. The guy video. We'll watch the full video and we will also add other data points here and there to make a coherent argument. We'll at least try to make a coherent argument on this. So thank you. Maybe see you in 3 days.
Libertarians can start a party, Hindus can start a party. I'm sorry. I don't accept this argument.
Okay, we will
Maybe
discuss
we should
this
try again.
next time.
Anand, we should try again. I never lose hope.
But I'm not a Hindu. No, I'm not a believer, bhakta. The Hindus who believe should be fighting this battle. They're like, no, मुझे नहीं fight लड़ना है, मुझे बैठना है.
ऐसा
मैं क्या
थोड़ी
करूं?
होता है. अब
I can't fight for someone else.
यार.
How can I?
How can you distance yourself? ऐसा
Because I'm
थोड़ी होता है.
not a bhakta. I'm a libertarian
भक्त होने
Hindu
की
civilization
थोड़ी
guy.
जरूरत
I
है.
can't fight for the religious fight.
If you
I
are
can't fight.
going to fight with a political entity, you are fighting as a political Hindu. भक्त
No, but
होने की कौन
मेरा
सा.
अधिकार नहीं है भाई. I can't fight for the entire community. I can barely speak for the community. But I'm saying I'm surprised by the fact that the community is going to stand up and say we will fight for our rights.
People are standing
मैं क्या
up,
करूं?
but उन्हें खत्म किया जा रहा है भाई. Like,
And what is
don't you
stopping
think?
Dhar from
Don't
starting
you
his own
think
party?
people are trying it to make a
So what is
party
stopping Dhar
that
from
will
starting his
fight
own
on the
party?
Hindu issues?
No, what is
Okay,
stopping Dhar creating his own Kashmiri
Okay,
party
okay.
and fighting the Kashmir elections or the
No,
Jammu
the
elections?
issue is these parties are getting eaten up by BJP.
Okay, we are going into a different tangent of political party formation. उसके लिए एक अलग बना लेंगे पॉडकास्ट जहाँ पर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी कैसे बनाए उस पर डिस्कस कर लेंगे. This is not the time or the podcast to do this. So I have to stop now because tomorrow I have to catch a train. So thank you everybody for a wonderful discussion. We'll have the part 2 in coming few days or maybe this weekend if possible. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram. Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram.
धन्यवाद.